Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Cate-Cast, an entertainment podcast. My name is Ezra, and I'm joined by
Ahmad
and Sawyer.
Time for a normal episode for once.
Back to normal.
To break down how this works, each of us has brought a topic from each of our three categories: movies, TV, and games. Each topic has about 10 minutes of discussion before we move on to the next. And then we also have a special at the end. This week it's going to be TV. And we'll have about 30 minutes of discussion around that. So we'll get started with movies this week. Sawyer, I have no idea what Sunshine is, so you're going to have to explain this to me.
Okay, so Sunshine was a movie that came out in 2007, and it was directed by Danny Boyle, who also directed another film I really like called 28 Days Later. And it's Sunshine. It didn't do very well at the box office, but to me, I think it's one of the most original, and also, at least from my limited knowledge, but based on what I've heard, scientifically accurate sci-fi films.
Okay.
It's incredibly unique, and visually, it's stunning. So the film is essentially about a crew of about 8 scientists who are on board the ship called the Icarus II. And the sun is dying, and they're on a ship to go and reignite the sun with the largest fission bomb the world has ever seen.
Okay.
They say they mined every possible fissile material on Earth to create the biggest bomb ever, to launch it into the sun and reignite it.
That's cool.
They also go into like some science of it and like how fission works and everything. And the cast is really good too. It's got Rose Byrne, Chris Evans, who else is in here?
Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy, yeah.
Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy, not Cillian Murphy.
And who else is in
Michelle Yeoh.
Michelle Yeoh.
He's the guy in all of the Nolan movies, right?
Yeah.
And he's
also in most of Danny Boyle's movies too.
Cillian Murphy, yeah.
Cillian Murphy is like he's
Cliff Curtis.
He's
Swan.
He's one of my favorite actors in like the most like his. Just for instance, I rewatched Inception recently, and he's like a side character in that movie, but his performance is so good, just for that side character.
I think he's an underrated actor.
Yeah, I definitely think the same.
And he's great in the film. Like he's kind of the core of the film. He also I guess what's the way to describe it without spoilers? He's kind of the emotional center as well as. But I think what's great about this film is they kind of do what's similar to the original Alien, where you don't really know a main character until the end of the film. It's like in the original Alien, I mean, we know now because Ripley is iconic at this point. But when you watch the original Alien, you don't necessarily say, oh, Ripley, she's the main character. It's just kind of...
It's like the cast of characters.
It's just a crew. It's like an ensemble.
Yeah.
That's how this film kind of is you don't really know that the character's name is Robert Capa. You don't know that Kappa is the main character really until like the last 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, the film,
cool.
A film that I recently saw that's similar to that sort of crew ensemble thing where you don't know who the main character is Bad Times at the El Royale.
I haven't seen that yet, but I want to.
But going back to the story of the film, the sun dying, that's very real. I mean, that's that actual thing that can happen. I mean,
I mean, it's not going to happen for billions upon billions of years.
Yeah, but it's still a scary thought.
Yeah, it's still something that humans have to sort of consider.
Yeah, it's plausible too. So that makes the science fiction aspect of it nuts.
And what's really interesting about the film, especially, is like in terms of a choice, is they never flash back to Earth. The entire film takes place on the Icarus II. The only time you see Earth is at the very end of the film. Don't worry, that's not a spoiler. But that's the only time you see Earth.
Just the very, very end.
The very end. That's the only time you see Earth.
Is it the last shot?
Yes, the last shot.
I'm really interested in...
See, now I don't know what to expect. Because either the Earth gets lit up by the sun, or it doesn't.
Or it just dies.
And he's just like, and he's smiling. So like, I can't say.
The film, it's definitely intriguing, and what's really great is they're able. I mean, the film it's an hour and 47 minutes, but it blows by, and you never at once get tired of the location you're at.
Now the budget for the
Oh, you go ahead.
Oh, the budget for the film was $23 million, and it made back $32 million. So it made back its budget.
Made back its money. The executives got a little bit of a bonus.
Money, yeah. But
which is what really matters.
Yeah, but Danny Boyle is a really good filmmaker. I think is like you said, he made 28 Days Later, which is what I consider to be one of the best zombie films.
In this film, it's like it didn't do huge at the box office, but apparently this film took so much work on Danny Boyle's part that I believe, you have to fact check me on this, but I believe he said he's never going to do a sci-fi film again because of how difficult this film was.
I think I've heard the same thing.
Yeah, he was like, I'm not doing another one ever again because it took so long to shoot. It was so difficult to shoot.
Now the budget was $23 million, and you said the CGI or the special effects, they don't look as bad, do they?
Oh, for a movie that's more than 10 years old, they still hold up.
Okay.
Like if you look at a lot of movies from 2007, the CG's starting to get a little dated nowadays.
Yeah.
It still looks great because most of it is practical, at least from what I noticed.
Okay.
It's really the only things I noticed is there's some like hologram things that they use.
Yeah.
That obviously that's CG, and then the shots of the sun in space and the ship, that's CG. But like all the stuff on the interior of the Icarus, all the explosions for the most part are practical. All the interior sets are practical. It's pretty neat.
Is this a horror movie?
No. So that's what I have to kind of go into here. I would call it a sci-fi thriller. It's not a horror film. There is like one jump scare, but that's really about it. I can't really go into more details without spoilers.
Okay.
But you should know that this film, based on what a lot of fans of it say, is that they say the first 2/3 are brilliant. The last third is just okay.
Okay.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I think the whole film is great. That being said, the first 2/3 is a very different film from like the last. I'd say it's even more than 2/3. The first hour and 30 minutes. First hour and 30 minutes is its own standalone thing. The last like 17 is a very different kind of film.
Interesting.
Without any kind of spoilers. It's almost like they were writing it and they didn't know how to end it, so they did something that they thought would be suspenseful, and it works, but the tone is very different from the tone that was originally there.
Interesting.
Yeah, the film, I definitely think it's worth checking out. It's I know the reviews on like IMDb and everything just say it's mediocre, but if you like sci-fi movies and you like things that are like films that have there's a lot of interesting editing choices in this movie.
Okay.
Like there's some that, like, for me, I don't really want to spoil any of it, but there's a lot of editing choices that are not things you often see. Really, the only other closer thing I can say to it, another Danny Boyle film, would be 28 Days Later. Is the only thing I can say that's even closer to the editing.
Okay.
And you get to see a pre-Captain America Chris Evans.
Was this around Fantastic Four when
this was the same year the second Fantastic Four came out?
Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
I remember watching that one when I was like sick at a this like lake house that my friends, like it was my like friends' uncles or somebody, they had it, and I was like there with them, and I got like swimmer's ear or something, and it was like I ended up watching the second one before I had even seen the first one. I didn't think it was that horrible, but I was also like 10, so I don't know.
I mean, they're good kids movies.
Yeah.
He also made Slumdog Millionaire, which is really cool.
I think personally this is my favorite film of Danny Boyle's.
Okay.
It's certainly not like the greatest film ever made. It's just my favorite of his. It's it's kind of similar. I'm trying to think of like a way to describe it.
Maybe Interstellar.
Think like
Interstellar
three films.
is Christopher Nolan.
Oh no, but I'm
saying like movies that are similar to Sunshine. I'd say like, you ever heard of the movie Event Horizon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to talk about that on this podcast at another point. But like Event Horizon and The Martian mixed together.
Okay. I like The Martian a lot.
Yeah, and it's trust me, when I say Event Horizon, it's nowhere near as gory as Event Horizon is. Trust me, it's not anywhere near that.
Okay.
All right.
But yeah, definitely worth checking out. That being said, don't go on the IMDb cast page unless you want casting spoilers, because not everything is as they seem.
Oh, okay, so it's one of those films, alright.
There is a twist ending. There is a twist ending.
So, okay.
Yeah.
So is that...
That's all I gotta say about
Sunshine.
You guys have any other questions about it?
I honestly, you sparked an interest for me. I want to see this movie.
Yeah,
now. I want to see.
Maybe we'll watch it together.
I want to see more of Danny Boyle's films, because I've seen Slumdog Millionaire, but a really long time ago. I only have small memories of it. I've seen 28 Weeks Later, but 28
days
days
or
later.
weeks?
Yeah, well, days later, right?
Yeah, days is his
sorry,
first
yeah,
one.
28 days later. I've seen small snippets of that too, but I just want to see more Danny Boyle. But yeah.
Yeah, it's worth checking out.
Piqued my interest. All right, so we're gonna move on to Planet of the Apes, which is my pick for this week. We're talking about the new trilogy.
The one that started with Rise and ended with 4.
Yes, starts with James Franco, ends with Woody Harrelson.
I think before
Is
we
basically
start the discussion of the new ones, we have to talk about the original one for a second. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen the old ones. I've only seen the Mark Wahlberg reboot.
Oh no.
So you know.
I saw the original one right after I had seen the first one, and it was
Rise.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I saw the original one, and I had already the ending was spoiled for me, where he's like the Statue of Liberty. It turns out to be Earth.
I mean, it's so iconic.
Yeah, it's really
at this
iconic.
point.
So like it was I had already seen it coming, but it was groundbreaking. I think just to take a sort of sci-fi film and have a social twist on it with like the apes and humans and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which was really cool. I don't know. What do you guys think of it?
Oh, I think the film it's a sci-fi classic, at least the original one.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen any of the sequels to the original one. They had
Oh no, I haven't either.
Beneath, Escape, Conquest, and Battle. Came out after that.
Mhm.
They I haven't seen any of those. I think it's interesting that like most people talking about movie sequels that released like yearly.
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes, all the sequels starting in 1970 were released yearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Beneath was in 1970, Escape was in 71, Conquest in 72, and Battle in 73.
Now, do they all? I don't know if they all sort of received the same critical acclaim. I would
No,
imagine
not
that.
nearly to the original
Yeah.
one. All the sequels pretty much had the same reviews, but like not anywhere near the original.
The original one. So Rise of the Planet of the Apes. When I first saw it, I thought the special effects were out of this world. I mean,
So I watched Rise because my dad and I had seen trailers for Dawn, and we both thought like this is so ridiculous. Like we gotta watch the first movie just to see what it's all about.
Yeah.
We both watched it, and I remember I was just like, whoa, this is so different from what I was expecting.
Yeah.
This is really good.
Yeah. There was a period of time in my life where all I had on DVD was Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and I had it on. I would just watch it on repeat. I think I've seen it so many times.
Movie.
I think I don't know James Franco. I like James Franco.
Yeah,
he fit in the movie. His performance in the film isn't bad. I think.
Yeah, I think James Franco, like, he's not my favorite actor, but he's my favorite actor in the Spider-Man trilogy.
Is he really? That's interesting.
It's it's him and J.K. Simmons.
Well, J.K. Simmons is the best character.
He has the best. Yeah, he's the best.
I do think that what makes Rise so good is that Andy Serkis really brings Caesar to life.
He does,
and he does a really good job of acting off of James Franco.
Yeah.
You have the guy from Harry Potter, Draco Malfoy from Harry Potter, as the abusive. What's his name?
Tom Felton.
Tom Felton.
Yeah.
He did a good job as being the guy.
They also replicate some of the iconic scenes.
Yeah,
from the first
like
one.
he does the like get your hands off of me, you damn
dirty ape.
damn dirty ape.
Yeah. There's also the
so
water
good.
hose scene. That was in the first one, the original one,
Oh, is
except
it?
it was reversed.
I actually haven't seen the original, so
But,
I can't say anything about it.
Yeah, so it was like a little callback to the
Yeah,
original. But then again, like I mentioned, it was a science fiction film, but it also had this sort of social commentary on where humans are in respects to like who's really
and the interesting thing about Caesar as a character is because he is the first one to evolve.
Yeah.
He's a little bit ahead of all of the other apes.
Mm-hmm.
So what starts to happen is especially as you get to Dawn and War, you start to see him becoming more human before any of the other apes do.
Yeah.
So like
Like
and
the
so
amount he's able to speak and
and then even just like the moral stuff too, which we'll get into later.
Also, going off of that, I also loved how they had the sort of evil ape. That was an interesting counterpart to how.
Having the evil guys,
the moral ape and the evil ape. And,
so
I
think just like humans.
So I think.
It's sort of
I think going into that we have to talk about Dawn of the Planet of the Apes because, for one thing, Andy Serkis has really just come into his role as Caesar in this movie.
He's the star.
I think
he's the star. Jason Clarke does a really good job in the movie. He's fantastic. Gary Oldman is Gary Oldman. There's not much else to say about that.
I loved Gary Oldman.
He does a really good job because what happens is Caesar and Malcolm, Jason Clarke's character, they are trying to build this peace between the apes and the humans, because at this point it's sort of a post-apocalyptic world where the humans are trying to survive after the ape virus goes out, and then but then you also have Gary Oldman's character, and then the character Koba, who are on opposite sides, who are trying to fight for like their people. So like you have Koba, who's trying to like bring apes to the top. And then you have Gary Oldman, who's fighting for the human survival.
I just want to comment on the amount of visual storytelling.
It's so perfect.
Just among the apes, you don't. There's no dialogue. I mean,
there's little.
There's
dialogue.
little dialogue. Obviously, you mentioned the main ape. He talks. He's able to talk because he's more evolved.
He talks, but he talks in word vomit
words.
More than just like dialogue like we're having now.
You also have they have like the sort of they have the subtitles on the bottom. You could actually read those, but it's more so what I'm talking about is on the faces of the apes. It really shows it was amazing when I first saw the sort of CGI animation of it. I really liked it.
The motion capture is definitely the best part.
Yeah, the motion capture definitely sort of brings it to life. I think probably I think Dawn of the so let's talk about War then. War for the Planet of the Apes is just as good, I think, as any of the other ones.
This is a series that increasingly gets better.
I don't know if I like War more
than Dawn.
I think Dawn is really, really good, but War, I think, has the most interesting moral debate. Because I think what happens is you start to see Caesar grapple with things that like humans often grapple with, especially in survival. Like when they spoilers, I guess. When they come across the little girl towards the beginning, while they're like traveling to the human camp or something like that. When they come across the girl, the only one who's really considering leaving her because she's a human is Caesar. It's not any of the other apes. The other apes are like, well, we should bring her. Like they're like, she's innocent and she's not of any threat to us. But he's like, well, what if she is a threat to us though? And then you also have the Colonel, Woody Harrelson's character, who Woody Harrelson destroys that role.
Woody Harrelson is an underlooked actor,
which is why I'm looking forward to his movie as Carnage. But in any case,
I don't know about that. Not for the wig he was wearing.
I do think like the aspect that there's a virus going around that's making humans sort of more ape-like, and Woody Harrelson is fighting that to his last breath. I think that's brilliant.
Sort of a mass extinction event in a way. I mean, it's realistic in its portrayal of how apes.
It's superhuman. Like I think my big thing about the way that the Apes movies is, like, my favorite thing about it is how well it portrays humans.
In a world of remakes, prequels, reboots, this is a good example of how you can make a really good remake of a franchise that's classic.
Would you really consider it a reboot? Or
I don't know if what would it be a prequel, though?
It's sort of like a remake. Not a reboot. It's a remake.
It would be a prequel, though, right?
It's supposed to.
It's not a prequel.
Is it not?
I thought it was a prequel.
Because I thought it was set before this. I thought.
Well, I mean, it would be set before everything, but it's not explicitly meant to be a prequel.
The events take place before what would have happened in the original saga, but they don't necessarily line up together.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to.
But you guys get what I'm trying to say.
Okay?
Sort of mean.
Like it makes sense as a prequel.
Yeah.
But it just, like, it doesn't. It's not obviously a prequel.
But for a film that's based off of something that's already been done, I think it does a really good job.
Yeah.
Of that,
I think you're
because
right.
the Mark Wahlberg one that came out was horribly trash.
Yeah.
But,
well, it was. Yeah. Like, focusing on the apes was definitely the smart route to go.
Mm-hmm.
Which movies, I think, what they could take away from this trilogy that apparently, as of right now, they haven't yet, except for a rare few, is that you can focus on characters that are entirely CGI, and people will still care and connect with the characters.
Yeah, you just have to do the CGI, right?
Like, that's what I keep, and I think they're finally finding that out with Bumblebee, but that's what I always get questioning with the Transformers movies. You have these great characters that are all CGI, you spend all this money on CG, but you still focus on Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
Like, you can
Mark Wahlberg.
Or Mark Wahlberg or something. You can focus on your great characters that are CG because we care.
Because that's how we watch the
That's
original.
why we watch it.
I want a Transformers movie that's just Optimus Prime talking. Like, that's all I want.
That's what, because they have the new Bumblebee movie coming out.
Yeah.
That's my only worry. I want maybe if they focus more on Bumblebee.
I think what they're doing is they're focusing on, like, Bumblebee and Haley Steinfeld. So
that's another instance. But I mean, I guess it's better than just having.
I think this film is going to be a soft reboot.
You think so?
Yeah, it's good.
But
anyway, like other characters.
I want to bring up. Sorry, I want to bring up Andy Serkis.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And here's the thing. This is the whole debate. So this is motion capture, but this really established Andy Serkis as a great actor.
Well, it's not just this. It's like he played.
He embodies
Gollum.
Well, he plays Gollum.
He does all sorts of motion capture.
Really
stuff.
good motion, but for me at least, this really established Andy Serkis as
put him on my map for sure.
And the whole debate as to how if we should really consider sort of giving awards, or are they really actors if they're motion capture?
Absolutely.
I mean, have you seen that video of his as he's giving a speech as Caesar, his face morphing into Caesar? Like, there's no question at that point. Like, it's his performance.
Yeah. It's not like these people are just walking around in the suit and then the animators do the whole performance. No, they're performing.
Yeah.
It's just being animated over.
Yeah, because
they're still performing.
It's the same way in video game performances, right? Like, it's the exact same thing. It's just people haven't caught on to it yet.
Like other characters like this, I think performance capture studios are starting to catch on to that, because I mean, look at Thanos. He's the main character of Infinity War, and you see him motion capture the whole time.
But you see it,
Rocket Raccoon.
Man, it's crazy how far motion capture's come. The Thanos look, I did not, honestly, beforehand, I didn't think Thanos would look as good. We're kind of veering off. But
I mean, final thoughts on Planet of the Apes.
Really good franchise.
Yeah, really, really, really good trilogy.
I think it's one of the best trilogies.
Yeah, I think it's one of my favorite sci-fi trilogies ever.
Sort of one that increasingly gets better for me, at least.
Yeah, I think.
Although I do like each one of them.
Yeah, I like all of them. I think Dawn for me is the best.
I can see where that. Yeah.
But I mean, I like War a lot, and I like Rise a lot. It's just like I think Dawn is better than them. Yeah.
Any final thoughts on that?
We pretty much covered everything else we can talk about.
Well, let's move on. We gotta make sure that we don't talk too much about this.
Oh man. So
The Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight, man. A very low-key independent film.
Yeah, not a lot of money went into it.
Yeah, nobody really.
It's not very popular.
Not very popular. I mean, I just
some pretty low. Lesser known actors.
Yeah, lesser known actors. The director's like, who knows?
Yeah, who knows that guy?
Okay,
Christopher
Nolan. We just said we shouldn't go too long with this. We're going too long. But The Dark Knight.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I think it amazes
a lot of people will say that like Iron Man is one of the most influential movies ever. I think it's The Dark Knight, far and away.
I think The Dark Knight was a blessing and a curse for DC.
Yeah, I think it's a blessing for the superhero genre, and a curse for DC specifically.
Specifically because after that they sort of had to keep up with that sort of image.
Yeah, because now Batman is the Dark Knight. There is no longer separating Batman from the dark and gritty.
Yeah.
You used to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Pre the Dark Knight, you used to be able to separate that.
Yep.
But now you can't.
Yeah, you can't.
And if you don't, then fans are gonna, or if you do, fans are gonna freak out.
Yeah. And I think after The Dark Knight, DC had some trouble trying to keep up with that sort of image.
They still are.
They still are. I mean, up until Justice League, where they tried to emulate the Marvel formula of having comedy, which completely turned over. It was horrible.
Well, and The Dark Knight has comedy. It's just like comedy that fits in the movie.
That fits in the movie, but
DC. The problem they're having is they don't know the path they want.
Yeah. Now, correct me if because I haven't seen Batman vs Superman, but the way they built up Batman was he supposed to be funny? Because he was funny in Justice League for sure.
No,
in Batman vs Superman, they built him up as somebody like he didn't take any crap. He was dark. He was brooding. He was mean.
Yeah. He's like if Christian Bale's Batman had decided to keep being Batman, it definitely feels like that's like the continuation of that.
It feels like you took the Dark Knight, but you also merged it, like the Dark Knight, Christian Bale Dark Knight, and merged it with like the Dark Knight Returns comic. So you just take that Batman, age him like 20 years. Yeah. He's a little bit more grizzled, he's older, and he doesn't care really anymore.
Okay.
That's kind of like the Batman you get. So they were on the right track with Batman vs Superman, and I do like the ultimate cut of that. Like, I think the tone was right. Because like, if you look at Marvel Universe around the same time in their planning as in the planning of the DC Universe. You go Man of Steel and Iron Man 1. Man of Steel's not as good as Iron Man 1, I'll give you that. But like, you look at like Iron Man 2 and Batman vs Superman, the ultimate cut of Batman vs Superman, they're about the same quality, at least in my opinion.
You mean Iron Man 2?
Yeah, Iron Man 2 and then the ultimate cut.
I haven't seen the ultimate cut of BBS.
Yeah, the ultimate cut of BBS.
The theatrical cut is awful.
Oh yeah, the theatrical cut is awful.
Well, at this point, since I haven't seen the theatrical cut, I'm gonna watch the ultimate cut.
Yeah, I would
watch the Blu-ray cut. It's
everybody says that like it at least makes the movie better.
It also makes it make sense.
Okay.
Like the pacing is a lot better.
Okay.
Yeah,
there is still some scenes that I don't like in the ultimate cut, specifically. I mean, spoilers, but like the scenes where the Justice League is introduced, I still think that is ridiculous.
Wonder Woman and stuff.
I think
Wonder Woman is like she's not bad. She's just like at least in the theatrical cut, she's like sort of a non-starter. Like I don't really care about her.
For me, the third act is still a little weak.
The third act is really weak.
Let's get back to Dark Knight.
Yeah, Dark Knight, a film with a great 3-act structure.
Yeah, because before the Dark Knight, you had or Batman Begins, the Christopher Nolan
before
series.
the Christopher Nolan
the Nicholas sort of Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, the Jack Nicholson, which is a fine Batman
movie. It was okay.
It's just you have Michael Keaton playing Peter Parker playing Batman. That's basically what he's doing.
I think for its time and for the place we were in comic book movies, the original Batman's like the 89 Batman is not bad.
It's a good movie. And then you have the George Clooney movies, which are sort
of the dark
era.
Which this is crazy to me. The Dark Knight. The actors, the whole ensemble of actors were so good that Christian Bale's sort of acting was overshadowed by Heath Ledger's.
Yeah,
and even though Christian Bale did an amazing,
a good job.
He does a really good job. Yeah. Heath Ledger. I remember thinking or hearing that people were like skeptical or something
of Heath Ledger.
Yeah, of Heath Ledger as being Joker. That
makes sense.
Because I mean I don't know, he was like in what like really teenager-esque films before then. Like he was a Prince Camelot or something, and was he? What was that? Yeah, but he wasn't really a villain.
He's not the kind of guy you would consider
for the Joker.
But
I was fortunate.
Now he is the Joker.
I mean, you can't
there's no. there is no, like, just like separating Batman from The Dark Knight, there is no more separating the Joker from Heath Ledger. Not even Mark Hamill can do the Joker anymore without being compared to Heath Ledger. Which Mark Hamill came before Heath Ledger, so, like...
And you have the
there's
new
no
Joaquin
winning.
Phoenix movie coming out that people are already comparing to.
Same what happened with Jared Leto.
Like,
I was lucky with this film that, like, because I mean, I was 8 years old when this film came out.
Yeah.
And so I was lucky enough that by the time I finally saw this movie, a lot of the hype had died down. I mean, still obviously it was hype.
Yeah.
But like by the time I had seen this, it wasn't like this mega-sized film as it was. So when I got to see it, I was amazed and blown away by it. And I'm also surprised that with how great the other two films in the trilogy are, this film completely overshadows the beginning and the end of the trilogy.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's great, and all three of the films are fantastic, but this film specifically just completely overshadows not just the other two movies in the trilogy, but the entire superhero genre as a whole.
Yeah. I think the only two movies that I think have come close to The Dark Knight are Avengers Infinity War and, I don't know, I would say probably, I can't even think of it.
Winter Soldier.
Well, yeah, I'd say Winter Soldier. Because Winter Soldier is the best Marvel movie.
And it understands Captain America.
Yeah, and Infinity War, I mean, how do I say this concisely? It's like, it successfully brings together so many different franchises that have different identities and does it successfully, and it's still a good movie.
Yeah,
and so, whereas The Dark Knight, it's just a good movie. It's just a fantastic
It's
movie.
really well done.
The film transcends being a comic book movie just to being a really great movie.
Yeah. The same way that Captain America the Winter Soldier is more like a political thriller than a superhero movie.
You could watch The Dark Knight on its own and still really enjoy it without having known anything about the Batman character beforehand.
You could have watched it without even seeing Batman Begins.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Even though Batman Begins is a really good
Yeah,
film.
Batman
still
Begins.
great.
Batman Begins is more of a Batman movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like it is definitely a superhero movie.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight Rises is
crime.
trying to be more of
A crime film.
Yeah, more of like what made The Dark Knight great, but it's just like not.
Not living.
I really like The Dark Knight Rises, but like for completely different reasons than I like The Dark Knight.
Dark Knight Rises was another case of me having just the one copy DVD. I saw Dark Knight Rises more than I saw Dark Knight.
I really like it.
I think it's good.
I think I was really skeptical about Tom Hardy being Bane. But because
he sells it.
He sells it, yeah.
Even in the movies that Tom Hardy's in and are bad, Tom Hardy still kills it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, even Venom.
And the other thing to note is that the Dark Knight and the Dark Knight trilogy in general are all Chris Nolan movies.
Mm-hmm.
They aren't DC movies,
Oh, no, they're not.
right? Like I think that's sort of the key difference here. Marvel movies are sort of just Kevin Feige movies at this point, right? They're sort of Kevin Feige with the Russo brothers infused into them, basically.
Well, you got to think about the context in which these were made, because Batman Begins was coming off the heels of the other two Batman universe movies being Batman and Robin and Catwoman. So there weren't exactly a high bar that was coming after. So DC was like, whatever, people don't take comic book movies seriously, do whatever you want. Chris Nolan took it and made one of the greatest trilogies of all time.
Christopher Nolan is like, hey, I have this character. Let's make a good movie with this character.
And so basically
like,
he was like, and now DC's like, crap, people actually do care about superhero movies. Yeah. And now they have no idea what
the other thing is, I think Nolan is a really good casting director too, because he casts his movies perfectly.
Yeah, I think Nolan was really interested in the Batman character. Would you guys say so?
I would say so.
I think. So.
I think it really tells when you have a director like Wonder Woman, for instance, who are actually really interested and invested in the character. It really shows. You have other films that like Green Lantern that are just
like I think my issue is I don't necessarily need somebody who's like storied in Batman lore to make a Batman movie. I just want them to understand Batman.
The character. I don't want them to do anything more than they have to. Batman Begins is a simple Batman film that but also transcends the whole genre itself.
Yeah.
While
Cillian Murphy.
Yeah. Cillian Murphy. That also pleases the crowd. It's not like something that goes all the way out.
And then also Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
The two other things I wanted to say about Dark Knight. One was that it's strange to me that this is a very adult film, despite being rated only PG-13. This doesn't seem like the film that people should be selling toys of. Like, the fact that, there was, toys for this movie being advertised on, Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, it's weird to me. I mean, granted, it's a superhero, so they're going to sell those toys.
It's a superhero, and it's, one of the highest profile movies ever. Of course you're going to sell toys.
And I mean, as a kid, I wanted the freaking...
There are friggin' Matrix toys,
RoboCop toys.
Yeah.
RoboCop is brutal, but the original one.
Yeah, and the other thing I wanted to say for the film is that I'm glad that they just ended it with the trilogy, and that they didn't try to build the current DCEU off of this trilogy.
I will say, I would have liked to see Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Robin.
I wanted to see that.
I would have been okay.
It would have been cool, but I think if he did show up as Robin, it's in a different universe.
Yeah, I would. I think actually, if they cast a Robin, I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt would be good, regardless of any hype around the Dark Knight universe. Regardless, right?
I don't know how I feel about Chris Nolan, because I'm pretty sure he just wanted to do 3 films. He
he definitely didn't want to. I mean, he probably just produced on Man of Steel because DC was like, here's a paycheck.
Will you do it?
Yeah. You made all 3 of the most successful movies we've ever had. Please produce this movie.
And it's also been a curse because now the shadow of this trilogy hangs over the entire the DCU in multiple ways.
Yeah.
Mainly in terms of none of the DC movies living up to this.
Yeah.
And the other way, if they can't figure out their tone. For the entire beginning of the DCEU, it's we're going to be like the Dark Knight. Yeah. People love the Dark Knight. Let's be like that.
We're going to be thoughtful. We're going to be philosophical. We're going to be gritty.
And then
and Zack Snyder doesn't know how to do that. So they were like, well,
and they completely forgot that in between the release of the Dark Knight and the DCEU was the creation of just a little thing called Marvel Studios. And
then also the Avengers.
And
the Avengers came out the year that Dark Knight Rises came out, right? Yeah. So it was sort of simultaneously the end of an era and the beginning of a new one.
Yeah.
And DC got sort of caught in the hype, and they didn't understand how to successfully do that.
Man, it's disappointing every time I think about that.
Yeah, because DC has some of the best characters ever.
Dark Knight is one of the greatest characters in American pop culture.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's depressing.
We
gotta end anyway soon. But
The Dark Knight, one of the greatest crime films and one of the greatest superhero films.
Heath Ledger, fantastic. Michael. Why am I forgetting his name? Michael Caine, fantastic. Christian Bale, fantastic.
Gary Oldman. Morgan Freeman.
Gary Oldman, fantastic. Morgan Freeman. I always forget that Morgan Freeman is in these movies, and he's still just like Morgan Freeman.
Perfectly casted.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt is good in Dark Knight Rises.
Cillian Murphy's great in all 3.
Yeah.
That's right, he's in all 3.
Yeah, when we make small appearances in 2 and 3.
Also, Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson's great.
Yeah. He's in Begins and
Ra's al Ghul is another character I got introduced to by the animated show.
He was in...
and Aaron Eckhart's great, too.
Oh, yeah. So,
and
anyways...
give some props to Maggie Gyllenhaal. She's good, too.
Yeah.
Better than Katie Holmes.
Yeah. And what's his name playing Two-Face?
Oh, Tom Hardy. Wait, no, I said Aaron Eckhart. Aaron Eckhart was Two-Face.
Tom Hardy is Bane.
I thought, Tom Hardy's Bane. Regardless.
I mean, I would have been okay with him playing both. But,
I'm okay with him playing every character.
Yeah.
Also, and Hathaway.
Props to the whole cast.
Yeah, just the whole cast of the Dark Knight trilogy. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's move on to games. I'm just going to put down the time code is 39 minutes. I'm going to lead us off, continuing that hype train of Kingdom Hearts. Choo-choo.
Except this time you don't have Caleb with you, so we're going to be just...
Yeah. Well, he hasn't played through all of Birth by Sleep anyways, so,
Shout out to Caleb.
Birth by Sleep is sort of... It's a prequel. It's also like the good version of Sonic 06, which is a weird thing to say. But the same way that Sonic 06 has the 3 characters that you play as, and all of their stories are intertwined, and then you have one final story that culminates the entire thing. Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep does the same thing. You play 3 different storylines that all like culminate in this final battle, and then you have after that you have a final battle. The story is fantastic. You have 3 characters: Terra, Ventus, and Aqua. Terra is like the big brother of the group, and his whole story is about struggling between the idea of succumbing to darkness and living in the light, and his sort of moral battle of what's the right thing to do here, because he also wants to become a Keyblade master, but he doesn't know quite how to do that because he fails the Mark of Mastery test at the beginning of the game. So it's sort of his journey through that. Ventus, his character arc is a weird one, because it's like it's more about like discovering who he really is and trying to find his purpose within that, because when he no spoilers, when he discovers who he really is, it's not something that he likes about himself. Like when he discovers what happened to him and why it happened to him and why he's going through the things he's going through during the game, he doesn't like any of that. So like there's this really heartbreaking line where he's like, look, whatever happens, if I become a danger to you, just put an end to me. And I was like, wow, that's horrible. Like, that's a horrible thought to have, right? That, like, the best thing that you could do is kill me, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that's... and then Aqua's story is about... basically, like, she's sort of the mother / big sister of the group. Like, it's sort of both and. And it's sort of about her trying to figure out, how do I be a good person? Dude, you're looking up spoilers.
Mark Hamill's in this?
Yeah, he plays Master Ericus, who's like he's sort of like the evil dad, but he's not really evil. He's just like misguided. He's the misguided dad, basically.
Okay, all right.
He does a good job. Leonard Nimoy is in it. He plays Master Xehanort.
Interesting.
Fantastic role. R.I.P. Wish he was still in the game. Still alive, so he could play Master Xehanort one more time. Haley Joel Osment as Vanitas is fantastic. He plays Sora, and he plays Vanitas. I don't want to spoil what the connection is between that, like why he's voicing the same 2 characters. It's actually a really interesting connection, but his performance as Vanitas is fantastic. I can't wait for him to return in 3 as Vanitas, because Vanitas is like one of my favorite characters in the whole series. Like his portrayal and his significance is understated in a lot of ways, but it's still really good. The gameplay is nowhere near as good as 2. Like basically 2 is the best gameplay in the whole series, and all of the other games are like 3 steps below that. Even the best games in the series are 3 steps below 2 in terms of gameplay. It has a very different battle system. The combos... What I don't like about the combos... a lot of people seem to go to this idea of floatiness being the problem in Birth by Sleep and Dream Drop Distance. My issue is that with the base combo, where you're just pressing X to attack, my issue is not that it's floaty, because honestly, Kingdom Hearts 2, there's not a lot of weight to your attacks. Some of them have weight, but there's not always a lot of it. The problem is that there's not a lot of ground movement with those attacks. So you're just sort of stuck in one place attacking this guy, and it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
Like you're just stuck and you're hitting this guy and it doesn't feel satisfying. Whereas in Kingdom Hearts 2, you're just like flying around the screen. You're going like from like this side of the room to that side of the room in like 2 seconds, and you're like, how did I get here?
And this was the PSP one, right?
Yeah, it's the PSP one. You can play it on PS4.
So this could have been that. What you were stating was probably partially due to the fact that it was released on the PSP and the hardware limitations they had. Because
yeah,
because I mean,
probably.
they also with there only being
It's
one
also
analog stick.
it's also a different team.
Oh,
A different team
okay.
made this game, and it's the same team that's making Kingdom Hearts 3. I like the game. I think the game is fine. I just think it's especially in terms of gameplay. Like I could level up to level 99 in Kingdom Hearts 2. I've done it 3 or 4 times now. I have never once leveled any character up to level 99 in Birth by Sleep. So I think that probably says something about how like again, it's a good game and some of the boss fights are really cool, but it's just not as good.
In regards to difficulty, would you say this is hard to play, or
it can be hard.
Is it okay? Okay.
There is, especially toward like the final few battles in all of the stories, you definitely have to level up for.
Okay.
Like you definitely have to spend some time grinding some levels because you'll get your butt handed to you. Like those fights are really hard. Yeah. What else? I'm trying to think of anything else I have to say about this game. Jesse McCartney does a really good job as Ventus. Yeah, not much else to say. The world selection is all right. There's a Lilo and Stitch world without Lilo in it.
Oh wow.
Because it's the spaceship that Stitch was on with the scientist.
Funny
Funny
thing
thing
about-
of the game,
Yeah.
or movie, I guess.
Funny thing about Lilo and Stitch, I didn't know that the movie came before the TV show. I always thought the TV show
Really?
came first, and then they came out with
The movie's really good.
It is really good.
Even I would argue even 2 is really good.
Yeah.
Stitch has a glitch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stitch has a glitch. I love it. Yeah, I remember that one actually.
I'm trying to think of the other worlds. They introduce a really cool world in it that I won't spoil for story reasons.
I'll go ahead and spoil it.
What?
Dead Space?
No, that's the
That's one of the worlds in the game.
yeah, that's just the Lilo and Stitch world.
That's right. Where's the webpage?
They have Cinderella's world. They do some cool things with the mice in Cinderella's world.
They have dwarf woodlands.
Snow White is good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Website blocked for some reason. Because the Kingdom Hearts wiki is very offensive.
Totally. Yeah.
Is that all you have to say?
I guess. Any questions?
Pretty much we've covered all my Kingdom Hearts questions
Yeah.
like, within the last 2 weeks, so it's like...
Yeah. I'll say you can buy the whole series. Literally the whole series except for the 2DS games, because they're in movie form instead of actual form.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think I'll have a lot of time, let me just say one thing, just a few things about 358 Days Over 2. The story, I think, in terms of just singular stories, is my favorite Kingdom Hearts story. By far.
Where does it fall in the timeline?
It falls between 1 and 2,
Yeah.
and it also takes place between Chain of Memories and 2.
Okay.
So, but it starts before Chain of Memories.
Interesting.
So, the way that it works is 1 ends, but, during the last third of 1, the beginning of 358 Days Over 2 starts. 1 ends, Chain of Memories starts, and that starts, I don't know, a fifth of the way through 358 Days Over 2. And then Chain of Memories ends, and the rest of 358 Days Over 2 ends, and then 2 starts.
Okay.
the story is fantastic. The characters are really good. Jesse McCartney as Roxas is fantastic. Quentin Flynn as Axel is really good. Axel, I think, is one of, if not the most well-written character in the Kingdom Hearts series. But Roxas is really good. Xion is fantastic. It's a really sad story. And it's also the movies that are included in the collection, because they decided not to port over the proper games, because they would have had to make completely new assets for the HD versions. So instead they just made new cutscenes is basically what they did. The Days movie is definitely better. Both movies have an issue with scenes that should have been in the movies being cut out because they just didn't want to make action scenes. Especially at the end of Days. I don't know why they didn't just make an action scene for that ending, because it's a fantastic fight, but it's just not. There's just no action scene for it. Like it's a good scene with everything else, but like there's a whole fight in there that happens before the fight. That's like the end scene that should have just been in the game, or in the cutscenes. But yeah, Days it has a brilliant story. Again, it's really sad. The cutscenes are really good because most of, like 99.99, not that, like 90% of the cutscenes are just like conversations between the three main characters.
Yeah.
And Kingdom Hearts has always been at its best when it's just like three people having an existential conversation. So, you know, it's either that or really good villain speeches. So it's like the rest of the series is not all that well written, but like those, and so Days excels at from a story perspective, what Kingdom Hearts excels at. So it's like that's what makes the story really good. Yeah. It's also definitely the better of the two movies, because Recoded is just like it's really boring. Like I don't really get anything out of it.
So the only ones within the definitive collection, or whatever they call it, that are movies are 358/2 and Recoded.
Yeah, and then there's also Key Back Cover, but that's like it's sort of a standalone movie. Like it doesn't really explain anything in the mobile game, so it's like you can watch it on its own. It's fine. It didn't really. It's how do I put it? It's fine on its own, but don't watch it expecting to like come away with any new revelations about the story.
Right.
I would say. Yeah, and then in the Story So Far collection, you get 1, Rechain of Memories, 2, Dream Drop Distance, Birth by Sleep. And then you also have 0.2 Birth by Sleep, which is basically a tech demo for Kingdom Hearts 3. So you get 6 games, 2 cutscene movies that take about 3 hours of your time, and then I get another one that's like an hour and a half. Or actually, I think it's 40 minutes. So
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah. $40 for all of that. Also for the best versions of all of those things, I think definitely. I highly recommend it.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so anyways, let's move on to mobile games, Ahmad. I wonder what we're going to talk about.
I mean, come on. We have to change the pace. We can't always talk about Kingdom Hearts here. So mobile games, I thought it would be an interesting little twist on our gaming category.
Yeah,
I mean, it is gaming, technically.
It is gaming to some degree.
I mean, yeah, I would say so.
So
I looked. Let me ask you guys this: was there any sort of mobile game that because mobile games sort of obviously became more popular as smartphones became more popular. Is there any mobile games that you guys remember growing up?
So I would say for me, I actually still play this game. There's a Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle.
Okay.
That's I play the Japanese version because that one's been the nicest to me. Mm-hmm. And it's part of this gacha genre of games where it's like you have this currency that you spend, and it's like you're trying to pull for rare stuff. I definitely spent more money than I should have at one point on that game. But you know, it's fun, and I think mobile games are at their best when they're like a unique spin on a franchise that people love.
So, going off of that, one of the most popular mobile games to come out, Pokemon Go. I don't know if you guys have played. I mean, I didn't.
I played it for 20 minutes and was like, "This is not why I play video games," and then I deleted it.
I was like,
from my.
I don't need this.
It blew up for no reason.
Yeah,
I didn't think
it was 2 weeks of the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah, everybody was playing Pokemon. I would literally be walking. I would be walking on the street with my phone out, and people would come up to me and be like, "Are you playing Pokemon Go?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not," because
I just better things to do.
I have better things to do. I don't get me wrong. I love Pokemon. I used to have the cards growing up. I just don't. I didn't get the concept behind just walking around and just.
Well, and the other thing too was that like news stories around it were popping up that like really it didn't really matter. Like it would basically be like thing happens, person was playing Pokemon Go while that thing happened. Therefore, it is Pokemon Go news. Like, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Like, they could be playing, like, by that logic, if I'm like, playing my Dragon Ball game, and while I'm playing it, somebody comes up and talks to me, and like that, then, like, that's related to me playing the Dragon Ball game? No, they're just talking to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's not how that works.
Exactly. But Pokemon Go is a big one. Some other really big name franchises that I remember: Clash of Clans.
Clash of Clans.
You have Flappy Bird, that was really big.
Flappy Bird
was crazy.
is one of the most interesting gaming stories of all time.
Yeah.
It's because it's like it comes out. It's one of the biggest things ever.
Yeah.
And then the creator just pulls it off.
Yeah.
Because he's like. He told the story of like people telling him like, "Oh, this game is ruining my life," and they're like, "I'm so addicted to this game." And he's like, "I don't want you to be addicted to this game." I'm like, dude, people say that about literally every video game that they like ever.
Yeah.
Like this is not. And also, usually they're just exaggerating to tell you how much they like it.
Yeah.
Like it's not. Yeah, it's just not that big of a deal.
The developer just wasn't prepared for the massive amount of success he was going to have.
Yeah.
And just wasn't able to handle it.
He was getting like $50,000 a day from ads. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is really crazy. But also, Flappy Bird was a big one. Clash of Clans, I didn't really get into. I've never gotten into. I got into Clash Royale more than that. That was more big for me. Temple Run was another big one.
Temple Run and like the
Subway
like,
Surfers.
Yeah. And like the running, endless runner.
Endless runners. Yeah.
Genre. Like I played Sonic Dash for a while.
With like mobile games, is if one game is really huge, you have almost hundreds of just copycat clones.
Yeah.
Yep.
Especially on Android, because their store is a lot less picky than the iOS store is.
What's interesting to me is there's this point where actual video games have to sort of compete with online or mobile games, so they sort of transfer into apps. Like you have the Injustice, you have mobile game, you have Fire Emblem was another one.
There's a Fire Emblem mobile game, which Fire Emblem I think fits as a mobile game because it's like you can have. It's like a miniaturized version of a big Fire Emblem game.
Yeah.
Whereas like having a Sonic mobile game is really hard because you can't just port over. It's hard to port over a Sonic game.
Yeah. But you have a lot of sort of because. I mean, mobile gaming is big, or at least I don't know. I don't mobile game as much. As I used to.
There's a Mario game on there.
Yeah,
now.
Super Mario Run was good. So
companies are making money hand over fist on these games. Like there is no question that if you're looking for success, make a mobile game.
I think the majority of it is with most of these games, it's children. Parents will just, here's an iPad, here's a game I saw that's easy, and they'll just hand their kids it, and they're like, "Mom, I want to buy some more, I don't know,
skins or
skins than Fortnite or whatever.
Yeah.
Credit cards in there.
Yeah.
Press. It's
Yeah.
kids who are making these things money.
Kids that made Fortnite.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I can't say that because I played some Fortnite. But
Well, and it's also, I think Fortnite being on mobile is what really is getting it big.
One thing I didn't know, this confused me. So I don't know how people play first-person shooters on. I know it's possible.
I don't know.
Fortnite's third person.
Oh, third person. Sorry, but also
Same
first
difference
person.
in my mind. Like
There's some first person, like PUBG's first person or is it
You
third?
can switch back and forth.
Just back and forth. But
Yeah.
I just don't know how you could play, the sort of shooter-esque games on there without having to like.
I think it's more about for that, it's more about trying to capitalize on it than it being a shooter, or it trying to fit into the gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about just trying to give people the option, hey, if you want to play this game on your phone,
You
go
could do
ahead.
it just like with the Switch, sort of portable. That's why they sort of ported it to the Fortnite.
So
Yeah.
I think what's really interesting with the mobile gaming scene is that they have, especially with modern phones, they have the power to create. I mean, essentially, you can create a high-end PS2 game on an iPhone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of graphical power.
Yeah.
That's weird to think that you could just run Kingdom Hearts 2 on my phone.
I mean, you can run theoretically in terms of space, 60 gig, not even 60 gig iPhone could hold the entirety of the NES library on its storage.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You could probably hold more than that.
Well, you could probably hold that
Especially
and the Genesis is entire.
Especially on the newer ones,
yeah.
newer iPhones for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, because another one's on here. I was looking up on the website How to Geek some games that were originally on old consoles that are now ported over to iOS and Android, like Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City and San Andreas, Bully, several Final Fantasies, Chrono Trigger, Jade Empire, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, Baldur's Gate, Transistor, Bastion, Terraria.
There are just tons. There are also tons of ports.
We have the Mortal Kombat ports.
Tons of
on there,
ports.
too.
Yeah.
And,
Myst. Well, I think what's interesting is that we're finally starting to see, because mobile gaming just got huge, and I think a big problem with it was that everybody had a phone in their pocket already. It wasn't just gamers who were buying this for dedicated games, where gamers were going to hold these companies to a certain high standard. With everybody having a phone in their pocket, that means that there's already an install base who will just check it out, which means companies can get away with creating games that aren't necessarily that high quality or with all a bunch of microtransactions because it's not just gamers playing the game.
Yeah, which it's nice to see that mobile has not killed console games because we're still getting a level of quality there.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I don't like the idea of playing games on my phone.
I do think this has, for the most part, killed handheld consoles. I think the Switch can get
At
away
least
with it.
dedicated handheld.
Because I think Switch can get away with it because it's both, and it's also got the Nintendo name. You're not going to see another successor to the PlayStation Vita or the PSP.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to see a successor to the 3DS.
Poor Vita.
I think other ones that were on here, like I talked about the week you were off, I talked about Infinity Blade, that trilogy.
Yeah.
It was, they were made by, it's a sub-studio of Epic Games, and those are legit console quality. They take a control scheme that fits a touchscreen, but they make it in the quality of a console game.
Wow.
There's legit voice acting, there's great graphics, there's an actual expansive story and world they set up.
Wow.
But it's still very simple iPhone gameplay. And if you can merge those things together, it works. Because something like Diablo is not really going to work well on an iPhone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other ones I looked up on here.
Let's talk about Diablo Immortal for a second.
I haven't heard anything about this.
Isn't it coming out?
There's a huge controversy.
Well, before we do that, I want to mention this real quick. Some other famous ones on here. Republic, I've heard was good. The Infinity Blade trilogy. And you can't really talk about high-end mobile gaming without talking about Modern Combat. They were mostly on the iPad.
Yeah.
They were on some other things. They're essentially...
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
They're essentially Call of Duty, but mobile.
Okay.
I think what surprises me is that mobile gaming could be huge, and they can create, if they tried, these great games. The problem is, most of them are just free-to-play or I guess pay-to-play with these huge microtransactions. Like most games you play on there now, it's play for 20 minutes, and then you're going to be forced to buy something, or you're out of time, pay this much to unlock, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or there's just so many ads you can't even play.
Yep, exactly.
So, mobile game has got a long way to go. Personally, I don't like it,
Yeah.
with the exception of console ports that are already...
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't do it as much as even back then when I used to do it. It was just to pass the time, and I think that's a big thing too. Is just to pass the time. And,
Yeah, I mean, really, if you're gonna do gaming on iOS, just get an iPad.
yeah,
Really, that's what I would say.
Yeah.
that's it for mobile gaming.
All right. Well, let me type in this time code for a second. All right, time code typed. So Sawyer, list out these PS1 Classic games for me because I don't remember them.
So a couple episodes back, I talked about the PS1 Classic, the PlayStation 1 model that's coming out. That's going to have 20 pre-built games on the system. And so now the official lineup has been released of the games that will be featured on it. And they are in alphabetical order according to what was on... I'm reading this off of Eurogamer.net, but it's everywhere. Battle Arena Toshinden, Cool Borders 2, Destruction Derby, Final Fantasy VII,
Obvious.
the original Grand Theft Auto,
Obvious.
Intelligent Cube, Jumping Flash, Metal Gear Solid,
Obvious.
Mr. Driller, Oddworld Abe's Odyssey, Rayman, or Rayman,
Sort
however
of
you pronounce it.
obvious.
Resident Evil Director's Cut,
Sort of obvious as well.
Revelations Persona, Ridge Racer Type 4.
So Revelations Persona is not obvious unless you know that it's the first Persona game.
Yeah.
Because being the first Persona game, Persona is like, I would say, the biggest JRPG franchise in the world right now.
Yeah.
So anyways, keep going.
Ridge Racer Type 4, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo,
Makes sense, I guess.
Siphon Filter,
People love that game.
Tekken 3,
Obvious.
Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six,
Unexpected but obvious.
Twisted Metal,
Obvious.
and Wild Arms.
Also, Crash Bandicoot. If you didn't.
No,
Nope.
no Crash Bandicoot.
Really?
Nope.
What?
Crash is Activision.
No Crash or nothing Activision is on this.
Yeah. Which screw Activision. That's all I'm gonna say.
No Spyro, no Crash. What were the other big ones that are on here?
Like they're
No
just
Silent
missing.
Hill.
You said no. You said Resident Evil though.
Yeah, the first Resident Evil on here.
Yeah.
I'm not
Resident Evil makes
surprised that
sense.
2 and 3 aren't on here.
2 is a PS2 game.
Oh,
No,
wow.
Resident Evil 2 and 3.
Doom.
Oh, I thought they're
Yeah.
PS1 games.
Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 are PS1 games.
What?
Yeah.
Rainbow Six. Tom
It didn't
Clancy.
start on the PS2 until the port of Code Veronica to PS2.
Oh wow.
Because Code Veronica came out on the Dreamcast
My
first.
my
and then-
my timeline on this is crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, Dreamcast. Dreamcast is messing me up because Dreamcast is like a high-end PS1,
Essentially.
Are they gonna have
and
Tomb
so
Raider?
it's like
Tomb Raider? Nope, no Tomb Raider. No Tomb Raider, no Spyro, no Crash
which
Bandicoot.
Tomb Raider is weird.'s
I'm
Square
sorry, Tomb
Enix.
Raider's not on here. It's
Yeah.
like
One of the most
Yeah,
iconic
Tomb Raider
ones.
is Square Enix. Square Enix seems to be playing ball
yeah.
with this sort of thing.
And no Silent Hill either.
Yeah.
Which is,
Because I'm also surprised because Konami let them have Metal Gear Solid.
yeah.
Also,
Weird.
why are they capping out at 20 games? Like the NES Classic had 30.
Yeah.
Wasn't it 30?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe they're just not willing to spend that much
Yeah.
money on it.
With some of these, like, I'm not surprised Resident Evil 2 is not on here because the remake's coming out on PS4 in, like, 4 months?
Yeah.
Something like that, so...
Yeah, that makes sense.
Crash Bandicoot's is
Yeah, Crash and Spyro are missing. Like
Yeah.
those are missing franchises.
Crash is what made the PS1.
Yeah.
Like, Crash was its mascot at the time.
Yeah.
So,
That's a
some
yeah,
of the
that's
ones that
just a
stand out to
whole-
me, I mean, for me, like I said on the previous podcast, Metal Gear Solid is what sells this to me.
Yeah.
Like,
Sure.
I want to play Metal Gear Solid full screen in HD on the PS1 Classic.
Oh man.
Like, that reason alone is worth me
Sure.
buying this.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the only game that really interests me
Is Dragon Ball gonna be on there?
Nope.
No.
Oh wow.
I'm not that big of a Dragon Ball fan. I'm a Dragon Ball fan, but not that big of one. Not big enough for me to buy a console based on a video game.
One that stands out to me is Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I think the only reason I would consider buying this is Final Fantasy VII,
Mm-hmm.
but I can buy a much cheaper version of Final Fantasy VII on PS4 anyways.
Yeah.
So it's not like
Well,
No.
So Square will get my money anyways.
Tekken 3
if I
also
play it.
looks-
Yeah, I guess Tekken 3 I might screw around with.
for
too.
most things on here, like, with the exception of like Metal Gear Solid and Final Fantasy VII, most of these games, unless you track down a PS1, you're not really gonna be able to play nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really see Cool Borders 2 on the PS4
Well, even Metal
store.
Gear
Yeah,
Solid,
yeah.
you'd have to buy a PS3 to play.
Oh, that's right. It's not on the PS4 store. That's
So, yeah.
Man, Silent Hill.
Yeah. Tekken, I think Tekken is probably the one that's the most saved game here. I think the rest of them are like either not worth saving or
What do you mean,
or
not
like
saving?
or like just like not part of history the same way.
Not
like
part
Tekken.
of like the classics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Tekken is part of video game history in a way that none of these other games.
Oh, Metal Gear Solid and Final Fantasy VII, I would show are in there.
Well, yeah, but like
Yeah.
those you can still play relatively viably.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid is a little iffy on that, but I mean PS3s are still on the wild. PS1s are not.
No.
Also, versions of Metal Gear Solid on the PS1 are not.
Now I have the
Um,
retail price pulled up as $100
For PS1
For
Classic?
yeah.
Yeah. PS1
That's
Classic
too
is-
much.
It's too much, especially for the lineup they're giving us.
Yeah.
Like, we should... They're definitely missing... I mean, it's very apparent that there's no Crash, no Spyro.
Yeah.
Also,
Which, is fine if you're not releasing a PS1 Classic, but you're releasing a PS1 Classic.
and at $100.
Yeah.
If you're going to release a PS1 Classic at $100, you're going to up it to 30 games
Yeah.
instead of 20, and you're going to put in some classics that are worth it.
Yeah.
You're going to get Activision to play ball. You're going to...
Yeah, you give Activision as many millions of dollars as you need to give them to get Crash and Spyro on here.
Now, did you guys have PlayStation 1s when you grew up?
Nope.
When the PlayStation 1 came out, I wasn't even born yet.
Interesting.
So,
When
I was
when did-
I
97?
was
I thought it was 95.
Oh, but it's 95.
GameCube is the first console that I
Yeah.
played games prominently on. Like I'd played games before that, but that was
Kinda
the
makes
first
me-
one.
yeah.
For me, it was the Wii. I like you had said. I had played games. I had played some games on the GameCube before. I had a Game Boy Advance handheld before that.
Sure.
And my first console was the Wii.
Wow.
And I can still remember my first game that made me actually a gamer was playing Super Mario Galaxy.
Oh,
That's my first one.
Interesting.
that was on the Wii U also, right?
You can play it on the Wii.
Yeah,
Was
but
it
I-
Sonic Adventure? It was probably Sonic Adventure for me.
Hmm.
DX, the
Things
director's
that
cut.
really surprised me on the PlayStation Classic list of ones that made it, Rainbow Six. I was not expecting Rainbow
Yeah.
Six to be on here.
Tom Clancy's
Yeah.
Rainbow Six.
I'm
That's
surprised.
interesting. I didn't even know that was on the PlayStation 1.
Yeah, no, I didn't
When
know
did they
that.
when did they transfer over to online?
The
PS2.
one, actually.
Oh.
Well, I mean, they had like in terms of only online.
Yeah, only online.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah,
same.
that was Rainbow Six Siege.
At some point, I'm going to have to talk about on the show how Rainbow Six Patriots became Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah.
That's a whole story.
It's
in
a
and of
story,
itself. Right,
yeah.
yeah.
Interesting.
Other ones that are kind of surprised on here, Siphon Filter. Like, the game is good, but like
People like that
in
game.
terms of classics, I was kind of surprised at Siphon
I think
Filter.
there are people who consider it like a cult classic almost.
Mhm. There's a lot of sequels to it too.
Yeah.
The PS2, PSP, and PS1.
Yeah, there are some weird ones. Twisted Metal makes sense. David Jaffe.
Also being a PS1,
Yeah.
I mean, like it's a PlayStation original IP.
Yeah.
I'm considering-
There. Can you list off Can you list it off again?
Like all of them.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I just need to hear some of
Yeah.
these titles.
Battle Arena Toshinden.
Why is that here?
Yeah, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, me neither.
Is that a classic?
Keep going.
Cool Borders 2.
Why?
Yeah, I haven't played that one. Destruction Derby.
Okay.
Why?
Yeah. Final Fantasy 7, obviously.
Yeah.
makes the
That
cut.
was if that was missing,
There's
I was
no-
why would anybody buy it?
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto 1. I
Okay.
didn't expect
Yeah.
that, but
Yeah, I
makes
didn't
sense.
expect it either, but yeah, that makes a metric ton of
I'm
sense.
surprised GTA 2 is not on here.
I didn't know that was a
Was that part
PS2.
of
1 and 2 in PS1.
Interesting. Okay.
And they also had GTA London, I think.
Hmm.
Or that might have been
Interesting.
PC only. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, Intelligent Cube. Don't-
Why?
I've never heard of
Why?
that game, man.
Oh my gosh, this lineup is
Yeah.
basically crap.
Yeah.
There are five games out of 20.
It's kind of when I bought
That
the,
are like-
when I bought the Atari Flashback, I bought it for like only a handful of games. Really.
Well, I mean, the
Just-
Atari Flashback also, at least what you can say about that, with the exception of like 1 or 2, you pretty much had the entire lineup
Yeah.
of the Atari
Yeah,
on
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Because a lot of those games, and they got Activision to work with
Yeah.
them. They got all of the Activision's Atari lineup, at least on one of those
Yeah.
Atari flashbacks. This, they really only got their original IPs from like studios, the
Yeah.
first party IPs. They got Square, and they got Konami to work with them.
Yeah.
Other than that,
Why is
Which
Activision
I'm
not working?
shocked.
yeah, I don't know.
I'm actually kind of shocked that they got Konami instead of Activision.
Yeah.
Oh, Konami, I was not expecting them to get that on here. at all.
Although Konami has been playing ball, like Simon Belmont and Richter Belmont are in Smash.
Yeah.
Snake is in Smash.
I'm just
again.
surprised. Why would they give them only Metal Gear Solid and not also Silent Hill?
Yeah.
Like that just
I
doesn't make
don't
sense.
I mean, Silent Hill is another
Because
franchise.
Hideo Kojima.
But they don't want 2 of his games on here, or
I mean, Silent Hill is another
Probably.
classic. I would consider Silent Hill a classic.
I also think Silent Hill is like, you bring that up and that leaves a bad taste in people's mouths
Just
about
Silent
PT.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
mean, the
like,
movies freaked me out as a kid.
Oh, and even the movies are garbage.
Yeah, the movies are garbage. I remember the first one, but I was like, "There's some interesting imagery here,"
Yeah.
but
yeah.
they are garbage.
like legitimately, there are only 2 classics, like legit classics on there, and that's Final Fantasy VII, which is basically what made JRPGs,
Yeah.
and Metal Gear Solid.
I'm really
I was gonna
surprised.
say you better say Metal Gear Solid. I'll fight for that game.
Like
the,
that-
the one that stuns me is Crash, because when I think of
Yeah.
games from that era, I think of Crash
yeah,
Bandicoot.
the fact that Crash is not on this list is
I mean,
like,
he was most of the marketing for the PS1 when
Yeah.
it was coming out. Like,
Yeah.
he was like Sonic Mario. Like, it was the same
That
thing.
was one of the most fun games, I think, and innovative games.
I haven't played the Crash series, so I can't say. But like, I know that he's the biggest thing about the PS1.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's a mistake.
the lineup's weird, and they didn't. I don't know if they stated this, but
Are they gonna
add more
games?
later? I sure hope not. I mean, I'd like more games on here, but
Well,
they,
so what if you could download like a patch and it adds more games?
interesting. I'm looking at the specs.
I'm honestly considering buying this though, just out of sheer interest.
See, again, the only game that I would play is FF7, and I don't, and I can just buy a high res version of that on
if they had
PS4.
Crash, if they had Crash, I would buy it. I mean, I want to play Metal Gear Solid, that's for sure.
You wouldn't?
I would play that.
Oh, yeah.
So when
Yeah, if I bought this, I'd play Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear, yeah.
No, yeah, they said Sony has announced that they cannot be added on via download or any other way. So what you got is all you got.
Wow.
Also, the controller, it's not the version with the analog sticks.
Yeah.
It's just the original.
But that's crazy because that's what was iconic about
They're
it.
trying to emulate the experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also the box is like the box that the minis coming in is almost down to like even the packaging. The
Really?
same box art as the original.
Wow.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool.
94, not 95. I was wrong. The release.
Yeah.
They got specs on here. It's video output in 720 or 480p, no 1080p.
Which I don't know if I want to upscale
Yeah.
PS1 games in 1080p.
I mean, would they already be
720 is-
upscaled at 720?
Well, yeah, but 720 is like about as far as I'm willing to go on that.
Which that's about what these games were displayed on the PS3 anyway.
Yeah.
Linear PCM for audio output. Your input and outputs are HDMI, USB port, and 2 controller
Oh, that's
ports.
cool.
When did they
USB
use the,
port is cool.
When did they introduce the analog stick? Was it 2?
No, there was a controller released on the PS1 with analog sticks.
But okay.
It came out later on.
Oh, okay.
It's the DualShock with the sticks.
Oh,
Yeah, and I believe you get 2 controllers.
interesting.
I think.
That's cool.
Yeah. If I pick it up, it'll be for a discounted price, and really only to play Metal Gear and Resident Evil. That's really gonna be it. I'm sure I'll try GTA a little bit.
Have you played FF7?
I have not played FF7, so I'll
I-
probably try that too.
I haven't played it through. I've always wanted to play it through. I just never have gotten around to it. But again, it's basically made JRPGs. Like I can't say.
Also interesting to note, that lineup that I read is the lineup for Europe and North America. The lineup for Japan is different. There are some games that carry over, but the games are Ark the Lad 1 and 2, Armored Core, Intelligent Cube, Gradius Gaiden.
Armored Core is an Activision game.
Yeah.
What the actual crap, Sony?
Gradius Gaiden, Devil Dice,
Watch your mouth.
Saga Frontier, G Darius, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, Battle Arena Toshinden,
Oh.
Resident Evil, Parasite Eve, Mr. Driller,
Mr.
Persona, and Metal Gear Solid. So really,
FF7 is not in the Japanese version?
according to this, it's not.
What the actual crap?
So really, the only ones that carry over from the U.S. to the Japanese one is just Intelligent Cube, Super Puzzle
Persona.
Fighter 2 Turbo, Persona, Metal Gear Solid, and Battle Arena Toshinden.
This lineup
And
is
Resident Evil.
trash.
Yeah.
Armored Core is an Activision franchise.
Maybe it has
and
something to
Crash.
do with the releases. Like maybe,
Maybe.
If they don't want to release it in the U.S. or something.
You know what? Don't buy this thing. In protest, do not buy this
I
thing.
mean, I've already got a PS1, and I've got Metal Gear Solid on like 3 platforms, so I might. I've already got it on PS3,
Yeah.
PSP, PS1.
Yeah, and
yeah,
like you
I
can
understand.
you can probably play like half of these games on PC. So it's like,
The price, I would buy this at like $49. Maybe even then.
I would buy this at $30.
$30. It would be
Yeah,
worth it.
this thing is worth $30.
If
It
they
is
had-
not worth $100.
If they had upped the game to 30 games and included more of these classics on here, then it'd be
Yeah.
worth $100.
If they had merged the Japanese lineup with the US Europe lineup, and then added Crash and Spyro, and then also added, I don't know,
I'd say RE2. But
RE2 and wasn't there a Street Fighter on the PS1?
Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo.
I don't know.
Now, I have a question.
Yeah.
Aside, so the PS1 Classic is coming out.
We've been going really long on this. Goodness gracious.
Oh, 'cause we knew this was gonna be
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Is there a console you guys would like to see be a classic
GameCube.
GameCube, yeah.
Yeah.
And PS2. I'd be interested to see what they do with PS2.
Yeah, I just want to know what they would do with PS2 because that library is so expansive that
Yeah.
it's like what do you do?
Yeah, and people need to keep in mind also, just because it doesn't make the PlayStation 1 Classic does not mean that it's not an important game, or that it won't eventually pop up on an eventual PlayStation store at some point.
There are important games that are not on the PS1 Classic.
Yeah, there are important games that aren't on like other classics. Like I'd say the SNES Classic didn't have every important game on there.
Yeah.
I don't think they had Mortal Kombat on there, did it?
I don't think so either.
Yeah, so
This also doesn't have Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
It
Well,
should
that's
have.
Surprising,
Yeah.
it should, yeah.
Well, and we're also getting into the era because, like, with the older styles, like the NES era, and I guess arguably with the Atari stuff,
Yeah.
there wasn't a whole lot of quality control, as we'll probably get into in other video game
Yeah.
discussions. So you could really just the ones that were iconic and the ones people remember.
Battle
There's a
Arena
very
Toshinden.
limited amount. Whereas something with like the PS1 and the Super Nintendo, kind of that stuff, gaming was becoming bigger, and these franchises that are iconic that have started around the PS1 era
Yeah.
still stick around today. So
Yeah.
when there's emissions, they're noticeable. With Crash missing, Spyro missing, Silent Hill, that's noticeable because those are still franchises now. Some no-name game released on the Atari that people haven't played in 30 years that wasn't part of a major franchise, there's not going to be a lot of people crying about that.
Yeah.
Whereas I can tell you right now, the fact that this does not have Crash and Spyro is going to anger a lot of people.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. If the Wii U Classic doesn't have Shovel Knight on it, war.
Well, it's going to be
War.
several years before that comes
War
out.
for the Planet of the Apes.
War
yeah.
for the Planet of Shovel Knight.
I wonder how many years it's going to take to get a Wii U
Man.
Classic.
What? PS1 is how many years old?
20 years.
20 years?
I wanna say
give
a
it till
A decade.
20...
Seven.
No. 2042.
Maybe that's why they did 20 games. Wait, no, 24 years after the system debuted.
I'm gonna say 20
Maybe not 2042.
2042
Maybe 2030.
is when the Wii U Classic comes out.
Then we're going to get the Switch Classic.
2070.
2050.
2050. Okay. We'll be 50 years old when the Switch Classic comes out.
Man, that's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Switch.
we've kind of run this. I'm just gonna say one thing. That lineup is trash.
Yeah.
Like there are a few good selections on there, but I mean, what? Rainbow Six, Tekken, FF7, Metal Gear Solid,
Siphon Filter.
Siphon Filter is sort of okay.
Twisted Metal.
6 out of 20. That's not good.
No.
I'm just gonna say that.
Especially when most of these, I mean, like I consider myself a video game historian. Most of these games I've never heard of.
Intelligent Cube.
Super Puzzle Fighter I've heard of.
I mean, I've heard of that, but like some of these games, like I have never heard of Battle Arena Toshinden. I can tell you that right now.
Look it up, Mod.
I'm looking it up right now on my computer. It looks to be a fighting game, I think.
Battle Arena Toshinden.
Yeah.
I guess it is.
Yeah.
That looks like a fighting game.
And there's also better fighting games released on the PS1. Why didn't you put Mortal Kombat on here?
Yeah, goodness.
Well, you can't. Or at least a Mortal Kombat.
NetherRealms is playing ball. WB is playing ball. Like, what's your problem? All right, let's move on.
Moving
I'm
on.
just getting angry.
All right, now it's our TV special.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's our quote-unquote TV special, I guess, because it's a Netflix. I don't know if you count... Do you guys count Netflix as TV?
I mean, at this point I do.
Depends on what you consider TV.
Yeah, because it's like cable versus Netflix and streaming versus cable and all that. In any case, Netflix is our TV special this week.
I mean,
so
our last TV special, we sort of touched on Netflix and
Yeah.
sort of how the rise of Netflix. So
Yeah, the rise of Netflix in relation to the fall of cable.
Yep. Yeah.
I think so. What I think we should do is we'll go around, and what I first want us to do is name what we think are like the most influential shows on Netflix. So for instance, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna say Daredevil and Luke Cage, I think, are definitely two of the most influential shows, not just in terms of superheroes, but in terms of what Netflix can do. Because I think those shows, Daredevil Season 1 especially, showed us that Netflix can basically do whatever they want, and as long as they do make something good, it's going to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then also... for the superhero genre, it showed that you can do dark and gritty. You just have to do it well, right? Because the Dark Knight could have been seen as a fluke almost. Like, it was just like Christopher Nolan. Like, it was like lightning in a bottle, and like you can never recreate that. Whereas now we have Daredevil seasons 1, 2, and 3. Honestly. They all prove that you can still do dark, gritty, hard, just like really tough superhero shows, and they can still work. I think Luke Cage, I really liked Luke Cage season 1. I think I wish it got more credit because it's the first, I don't know if it's the first, but it's one of the first superhero properties that is like I think it's like 9-1 black versus white cast, basically.
In Luke
Cage.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think that like it's mostly black actors, if not, well, season 1 is definitely not all black actors, but it's like, yeah, it's like predominantly black characters.
The only ones I can think of who aren't is really like Iron Fist and Jessica Jones when they pop up.
Yeah, and Colleen Wing shows up. She's an Asian American. And then in season 1, Detective Knight's partner is a white guy, but that's about it. Yeah, Ahmad, what do you think? Most influential.
I'm assuming Sar's going to mention Stranger Things.
Oh yeah.
So what I'm going to say is the reason why I got Netflix is because of Black Mirror.
Okay.
I think, to me personally, Black Mirror was the most influential and one of their best originals. I think, to me, that Black Mirror sort of cemented Netflix as a medium that can produce really well-made TV shows that are impactful and not sort of
not just like this wishy-washy. What TV has become is what Netflix is trying to transcend. And sometimes it does a good job, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like it's
also some other TV shows to highlight is BoJack Horseman. which is, I saw a few episodes and I thought it was really cool. Even
Okay.
though it was kind of iffy for me at first. But BoJack Horseman, what else? And then obviously Stranger Things. But yeah.
Yeah.
So,
What do you think?
the number one for me, Stranger Things. That show, I binged through the first 2 seasons in the matter of about, 3 days. I was so hooked on that show. The sheer originality of the show and the fact that they did the whole, I don't really know what to call it, period piece or kind of nostalgia drama thing right. They didn't, as much as I enjoyed it, they didn't do the Ready Player One route of just, look at all this stuff you like.
Reference, story,
They-
reference.
They didn't. They used the 80s to their benefit.
That's basically what
That's
One is.
I mean, especially the movie itself.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
The book is
Now
not
I do.
much,
I should.
not much more than that.
I shouldn't mention this show out of necessity because it was a show that people talked about. 13 Reasons Why.
Oh yeah.
It was a show that people talked about, and I know there's
Yeah,
It certainly got
I haven't
buzz.
seen it. Yeah,
it got
definitely
buzz for
generated
sure because
buzz.
I remember in high school people.
Some people love it. I feel like my issue, and not to get too dark, is for one thing, they didn't do the suicide warning at the beginning, right?
Mhm.
So that was a mistake because you're gonna have people
They did with the second one. They learned.
They did, and they edited it into the first season.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know,
It wasn't. Do you think it was handled as carefully as it should?
Well, I haven't seen the show, so I can't say.
Mhm.
But when you make a show like that, and you don't. So what I gather from the show is that it's basically the tapes are basically the reasons why this character commits suicide.
Mhm.
13 tapes, 13 reasons why
Mhm.
I did this. And they're all external reasons, right?
Mhm.
They're not, none of them are her own mentality.
Mhm.
No.
And so
I mean, I haven't watched it, but that's
yeah,
what it
and
Yeah.
the biggest problem with suicide, right, is that it's a mental illness thing.
Yep.
It's not just people drive other people to commit suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, people encourage it, and people do really dark things to get people to commit suicide, but no, it is primarily a mental health issue. It is definitely not an issue of people being jerks to one another.
My
Because
problem with the show is they take it as a teen drama and not as a legit problem.
Yeah.
The show is they're trying to be it almost I've watched a couple clips from it. It almost feels like a Twilight almost.
Yeah.
In terms of just this kind of I'm hip, I'm cool, I'm depressed kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
it almost doesn't take it serious.
Romanticizes suicide for me a little
yeah,
bit.
and I think that's the big issue, right? Is it simultaneously romanticizes suicide, and people can relate to what she's going through,
Yeah.
but at the same time, there are plenty of people who went through what she went through, which I don't quite know what she went through because I haven't seen the show, but
Personally, the show was effective for me.
yeah,
But near the end, I was definitely seeing sort of I just,
the holes.
the holes in the show, and I love the premise of the show. I just wish it wasn't. I wish the primary goal for the show wasn't to make money or just to sort of have suicide as its main attraction.
Yeah, my issue is again, suicide is a mental health crisis.
Yeah.
Right? And to turn it into a teen drama and not have the problem be the mental health problem. If
That's what I was hoping the show would be.
if it was a teen drama, but the drama was around the character's mental health and the failure to address that mental health issue instead of the character commits suicide because of all the pain that these people put her through, then it would have been fine because what they would have been doing was addressing the mental health problem. Instead, they're not addressing anything. They're just making a teen drama out of suicide, and I just don't think that's cool.
Well, to lighten things up a little
Yeah.
bit, one show I haven't watched a lot of it, but I've watched it with my roommate a little bit. It's called Big Mouth.
Yeah.
It's an animated show created by Nick Kroll. It is hilarious.
Okay.
It's definitely not for people who don't like gross out humor or like South Park style humor.
Yeah.
It's definitely an inappropriate show. Definitely not for kids, despite being in a cartoony art style. But it is one of the funniest shows, and it's very relatable.
Okay.
Anybody who's gone through puberty can relate to this show.
Okay.
I could agree. I'm agreeing with Sawyer on that one because the show is definitely relatable and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
I saw a couple episodes. I want to see more of it though.
Yeah.
But it was it was surprisingly funny because I didn't expect it to be.
And
like that.
I would normally say Stranger Things, but I'm gonna divert the Stranger Things conversation to last week's episode because we went more in depth last week.
Go check out our Halloween special.
Yeah. The other show I wanted to mention, I gotta get back to it, and there are certainly other influential shows that we just haven't really talked about, like Narcos or Orange is the New Black, House of Cards, stuff like that.
Also, their documentaries are amazing.
Their documentaries I've heard are good too. The one that I really wanted to mention was American Vandal. It is a very funny show. Unfortunately, just got canceled. I haven't watched the second season yet, but I watched the first season. And have any of you guys watched it?
Nope.
I've heard of it.
American Vandal is a fake. It's a mockumentary. It's
okay.
These two teenagers who are okay. So there's a character. His name is, I can't remember the character's name. He's played by Jimmy Tatro. I remember that. Dylan Maxwell. That's the character's name. And he draws certain. Okay, I'm doing air quotes for anybody who can't see me. Phallic objects on, it's like 20-some staff cars in the high school parking lot. And the way the documentarians shoot it, they almost shoot as if it's like a school shooting almost. They're like, they cut like the people crying and screaming and like running through the hallways. And it's, and they have like a news helicopter go over and it's a horrendous scene at this high school today. It's like, they shoot it dead serious, and that's what makes it so funny. And they have these two
I'm dying.
documentarians who go around and they interview students and they try to figure out, and like Dylan says he's innocent, he didn't do it, and so they're trying. It's basically Netflix making fun of itself. They're making a murderer, but they're doing it on their own
That's
service.
funny.
That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, second season they kept the same documentarians, but it's a completely different story with different people. The second one is, I can't remember what the second season's about. I think it's somebody. It's a private school where all it says is Peter and Sam travel to a prestigious private high school in Bellevue, Washington, to document the story of a filthy vandal called the Turd Burglar.
Oh my god.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
yeah, it unfortunately got canceled, but that first season is so funny. It's got a very tight pacing, and I think it's only like 30-minute episodes, so you can get through the first season in like a night.
Wow.
Nice.
8 episodes a season. Again, similar to Big Mouth, not for the faint of heart, for people who don't like gross out humor, lots of language, but if you like documentaries, definitely watch this because it knows how to make fun of documentaries.
Nice.
They play out a lot of the typical tropes in
Nice.
that, and the final reveal is great. It's great.
Two other shows to highlight.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
The End of the Effing World.
Okay.
That was
Watch
really
that
cool.
one.
It was good when it came out, and also Ozark.
No, I've heard
Jason
of
Bateman.
Ozark.
Jason Bateman and Ozark, yeah. Which I didn't think it was. At first, I thought it was from TV, like a TV show or a TV channel,
yeah.
kind of. But I think it's a Netflix original, so it was a really good.
Yeah. So let's transition.
Before we do that, we need to mention one thing.
Okay.
We haven't mentioned Castlevania.
Ah.
One of the first good video game adaptations.
Yeah.
Nice.
And,
I haven't watched it. I've been.
Was
interested.
Castlevania also on the PS1?
Oh yeah, that's another one we forgot to mention.
Symphony of the
So
Night.
how is that not on the PS1?
What the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It
was,
just got re-released on the PS4. What
Yeah.
the heck is happening?
so that's another one that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
All right, but yeah.
I'm so mad right now. I don't even care about most of these games.
I should have never
Mad.
mentioned it.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sorry.
like, wait a minute.
But yeah,
Yeah.
Castlevania is another game. So what?
So let's transition then. Man, I'm fuming right now.
We should talk about Castlevania.
I haven't played any of the Castlevania games, but anyways, let's transition. Let's talk about not just show like Netflix originals, but shows that we love to watch on Netflix.
Oh man. Okay.
So I'm gonna lead us off. I'm gonna talk about two things. Daredevil, I think, is my favorite TV show of all time. Full stop. Because it's for one thing, as a Catholic, it's got the best portrayed Catholics in media ever, from my perspective. Having not watched all of Catholic media, of all of the Catholics that I have seen on anything, they are easily the best portrayed. I think everybody gets wrapped up in talking about Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk, which he's fantastic. I won't deny that, and he's one of the best parts of the show, no doubt. But I do think that Charlie Cox really does a good job with the physicality and the mannerisms of Matt Murdock. Yeah, I think this show has a little bit of an issue with falling into standard TV drama, but it's not that big of an issue. So it's like, and it's handled well, and it's like you can understand where the characters are coming from, whereas in a lot of other superhero TV, you're like, why are you still hung up on this? Again, Vincent D'Onofrio's Wilson Fisk is one of the best, is probably, after Thanos and Killmonger, it's hard to say, but one of the best MCU villains. Yeah. And then the other one is completely different. It's an anime called Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works. Fantastic, 20-minute episodes. If you want some more context as to what's going on in this show, you can watch Fate Zero, which is also on Netflix. That one's pretty good. It's a lot darker, and there's some horrifying things that happen in it. Like, it's definitely not a kid's show. But Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works is a lot more lighthearted. It's a pretty like standard hero's journey in a lot of ways, but it's got one of the greatest twists and one of the greatest uses of time travel in a show that I've ever seen.
That's cool.
It's one of my favorite anime of all time. Yeah. And again, 22-minute episodes. It's like 24 episode long season. The first, second, and 13th episode are like 45 minutes long because they're like specials. But after that, the animation in that series is fantastic. If I was gonna hire anybody to make an anime, it would be UFO Table because they are fantastic.
So the first TV show I ever watched all the way through on Netflix was the 2004 Battlestar Galactica. But I've already talked extensively about that on this show, so again, divert to a previous episode. But the one that I want to bring up specifically, it's kind of a different thing from what I usually bring up on here, is CNN has done a series of documentaries of the decades, like from 60s on.
I love those.
They're fascinating. They go really in depth.
Neat.
Tom Hanks, I believe, is a producer on them. They did the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and then they just did the 2000s.
And the hundreds?
The 2000s.
Yeah, that's actually a TV show on Sci-Fi. But
the 100, yeah.
But it's
That's CW.
I haven't watched every episode of all of them, and unfortunately,
I'm just correcting you.
the 60s and the 2000s are not on Netflix, but 70s, 80s, and 90s is.
Okay.
Specifically, my favorite episode has got to be the one about the space race in the 80s.
Oh yeah,
that one is so. Actually, I think it's just the tech boom, not space, but tech.
Yeah. Also, the tech boom one was really cool. I also liked the 90s, like the whole 90s sort of anthology they have, I guess.
Yeah.
But the thing about that is I didn't know that they had them on Netflix, so I had to wait like every summer for them to like because every summer they dropped the new the new decade for I think so, right?
Yeah, something like that. It was like one every year.
Yeah, one every year. So I didn't know it was on Netflix, but now that I do know, I don't have to wait.
Yeah.
But
like I said, the only ones that are not on here is 60s and 2000s.
Okay.
I don't know what services are on. I'm trying to figure out where I can watch them. Hopefully they're on Prime Video.
So wait, they did.
I want to see the 2000s so bad.
Oh,
I'm interested.
Man, 2000s was a great time.
They were a crazy time.
There were certainly some.
This is a fun time to be a
events that
kid.
happened in 2000s.
Yeah.
It was a fun time to be a kid.
Yeah, it was a fun time.
We're watching SpongeBob
Also,
while the invasion of Iraq.
Yeah. Also a scary
Wow.
time to be a kid.
Yeah.
It was a scary time to be an adult.
Yes.
If you were a kid, you had no idea what was going on.
All you were worried about was SpongeBob.
Yeah. That's really that's all I was worried about.
I was worried about whether or not Robin and Starfire were going to
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what you guys
Yeah,
talking about.
I'm just playing Super Mario Galaxy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing.
Oh man.
Oh man, nah,
these-
Sonic Adventure 2.
But no, it's the 60s. I like this, but the 70s were an interesting.
Yeah.
They're all fascinating, and what I really like is that the show doesn't really take a side. They're not like, oh, 90s was great because Clinton or anything. No, they go in. They do have episodes about each president and their of the each era and their accomplishments during that time.
Yeah.
But it's not directly stating of, oh, clearly this person was good or bad. They take it objectively, and I really like that.
I will say just to put everything on the table. Documentaries are biased no matter what.
For sure.
So
yeah.
I would say if you go to this as your only source of U.S. history,
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
So
For me, it's more so fascinating as to learn about how the pop culture and atmosphere was,
Sure,
but also
yeah.
some of the political climate too.
They go in depth, and they're also able to condense it down to about 8 episodes that are each about an hour long.
Which is really hard to do, especially when considering you have to condense a decade.
Yeah.
And they make it fascinating. Now, and it's out of all I've seen a lot of documentaries, especially history documentaries.
History is one of my favorites.
Oh, me too. And I think certainly, as Ezra said, this shouldn't be your only exposure to it. But if you're going to watch one just for a little bit of history, these CNN, I just call them the decade documentaries, are probably the most objective that I've seen.
Okay.
Because they do have multiple perspectives they do show, and it unlike several ones, especially documentaries done by Michael Moore, who I can't stand, these seem to be the most objective I've ever seen. So if you got Netflix, unfortunately the 60s and the 2000s aren't on here. I think the 2000s only wrapped up a couple months ago. But definitely check out 70s, 80s, and 90s, especially the 80s ones. The Tech Boom episode is fantastic.
It's fantastic. Especially, I love that era.
And I think they did one on TV in the 80s.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was the 90s. I don't know.
It might have been the 90s.
And the Reagan Revolution, my favorite president, I had to say.
Yeah, I saw the 90s sitcom one. That was big. But also, I wish... so this is on Comedy Central, History of Comedy. I wish they had some sort of thing on Netflix or something, because I always miss that. I miss that show whenever it's on. But
there are tons of Netflix comedy specials.
But, no, but this is kind of like the decades or the history of comedy through decades. But
that was a CNN special.
Was it CNN or was it Comedy Central?
I think it was CNN.
History of Comedy?
Yeah,
I think it's.
I'm not sure.
I think I remember I was watching CNN in hospital or something, and it was
that's how it happened. That's how it always starts. I mean, that's CNN in the hospital. It's either
CNN in the hospital or the airport.
Yeah,
either one.
If it's not that, there's an election going on. That's the only other reason.
I've been there before, but no, I would like to see that transferred on because I always miss those episodes. But yeah,
okay.
Sounds good.
Nice.
That's pretty much all I wanted to mention.
Okay. For me,
anything else?
I've already mentioned Black Mirror. I don't know. I'm really excited. I don't know when the next season's coming out, but it's sort of because I love Twilight growing up. I always used to love those shows. And
Twilight?
The Twilight Zone. No, it's
Twilight
the Twilight
Zone.
Zone. Not Twilight. No.
What the heck are you going on about?
Well, no, the Twilight.
Those are
Twilight
movies
Zone.
anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
the Twilight Zone.
The Twilight Zone is a movie. They made a movie. So Black Mirror is as similar as it gets, I guess, when it comes to Twilight Zone.
Okay.
And sort of that anthology of stories that are sort of. Would you say they're fables, or are they more so just?
I would say they're more cautionary tales.
Cautionary tales. Yeah.
They're hey, but this is not against technology, but be careful with it because they can certainly screw us over if we're not.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm not going to talk about Black Mirror. I'm going to talk about 2 other shows that I have that are not originals, but I've seen through Netflix.
Through Netflix. Yeah.
And the ones that are sort of always trending
Yeah.
on Netflix. First, over the summer I saw Breaking Bad for the first time. I binged it, and it was really good. Second, The Office. Every time, I think The Office is just
The
a
Office
staple
has
of
been
Netflix.
leaving Netflix for like 20 years,
Yeah,
and
it's like I think I see so many people just watching. It's just like
everybody, they always like announce that The Office is leaving Netflix, and everybody like rushes to watch it, and then it doesn't. Leave
It doesn't
Netflix.
because like so popular. Everybody comes back.
It's
to
so
it.
popular, and they're probably like, we might as well just keep it
Just
on
keep
here.
it on because people come back. It's always on the trending page every time,
Yeah.
especially like the big.
Yeah.
But-
Sorry, I'll let you keep going.
Yeah, I know the Office, and it's just one of those shows where like you don't have to necessarily have to watch all the way through. You can just like if you like the show, you can just start from season 2 or watch a specific episode that you like, and yeah.
The way that I watched Star Trek: The Next Generation was on Netflix.
Oh, I also saw.
It's not on Netflix anymore, but
You sure? I'm gonna double check that.
Wow.
Doctor Who is no longer on Netflix either. But that's how I watched the first
Certain for me.
But
6 seasons.
I saw something we didn't mention that I saw also over the summer was Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Oh yeah. When
Star
I
Wars
broke my
was
hip,
yeah.
Star Wars: The Clone Wars was what got me through that. Like I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
Like I
It's a really good show.
it's really good.
I forgot.
It makes the prequel trilogy better.
It does. I had more of an appreciation for the prequels
Yeah.
after I saw.
I still don't like the prequels, but
How dare you?
There-
That's a whole. We'll get to that eventually.
Yeah, we'll get to that eventually.
I'm the worst Star Wars fan because I dislike half of the movies.
But you also like Star Wars, the franchise. You just,
I like the franchise. Like half of the movies I don't like. Anyways.
Just an update. Next Generation is on Netflix.
Oh, it is.
But Doctor
Oh,
Who
that's
is not.
Yeah, I mean I knew that Doctor Who was.
Yeah, but Next Generation.
Doctor Who is on Prime.
Yeah. The
Season 10
Netflix
is
stuff
fantastic.
kind of bounces back and forth all the time with Star Trek. Because like Star
Yeah.
Trek, it's either on or not, and it can vary wildly all the time.
I was thinking of a show. What was it? Sorry.
Were you gonna mention Paradox?
Oh yeah. So I found Ezra. If you remember the show you're going to mention, let us know. But so I'm sure you guys have heard about the Cloverfield series.
Oh yeah.
Cloverfield Paradox came out. It was after, I don't remember which Super Bowl it was. I think it was 2017.
Yep, it was 2017.
Or was it this year? I
Well,
thought-
actually, it was this
Might have
year.
been this year,
It was
yeah.
this year because I remember last year of spring
Oh.
semester people were talking about it.
Yeah. So the in March, right after the Super Bowl of 2018,
Mhm.
they dropped a surprise trailer during it and said, "By the way, the new Cloverfield movie's coming out and it's dropping on Netflix tonight after the game ends." And I was like, "What?" Like I remember sitting there with my dad watching the game and seeing
It's like that Sega Saturn moment.
Yeah, I was like, "Wait, what?"
It's interesting how they sort of marketed that because I think it got people excited about it, but also I just didn't know anything. I didn't know it was gonna be on Netflix that
Yeah.
night, so I didn't watch it, and I still haven't seen it, especially because it's not
After
good.
having seen it, I realized why they dropped it surprisingly and not releasing it in theaters because it wasn't that good.
Yeah.
It's got a real
Poor JJ.
There's a sequence you can very much tell they added in post, like a whole separate storyline that was very clearly added in later. And the acting isn't particularly bad in any scene. It feels very choppy, like it doesn't know what it
Okay.
wants to be, and there doesn't seem to really be any continuity between scenes.
That's a movie, right?
It just seems to.
It's a movie, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It, actually, clarify, it is a movie, but it's a Netflix original movie.
Okay.
It's if you like Cloverfield, I'd recommend at least checking it out because it's not going to take a whole bunch of your time, and it's certainly not like egregiously bad. Like
Okay.
you can sit down and watch it, and it's not like offensive, but it's
no Cloverfield Lane.
It's not Cloverfield Lane. It's not the original Cloverfield. It's just very much just kind of a tired formula. It's not overtly bad, but it could be much better. It's essentially just a good time if you're looking for
Yeah.
something to watch on like a Sunday afternoon.
It's bad in the way that Luke Cage season 2 is bad. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember the show I was thinking of. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. The quintessential anime. Before you watch Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, go watch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. The first episodes, I think it's 3 and 4, are some of the most interesting commentary on the tension between religion and science that I've ever seen. Without spoiling anything, the 4th episode is horrifying, and the show only gets like more horrifying. Not more, but the show like remains as horrifying as time goes on. So if episode 4 is too horrifying for you, I would say still watch it, because it's not as bad after that. But man, that's a horrifying episode. Yeah, the quintessential anime, full stop. Like, there's no, the English dub cast is fantastic. Yeah.
Good to know.
Man, I'm looking through the Netflix sort of lineup, and they have a lot of good stuff now on Netflix. It's kind of crazy.
I didn't realize Doctor Strange was still on Netflix.
Yeah,
I think once the Disney service comes out.
Oh yeah, but like they've been doing is they've been like putting them on Netflix and then taking them off. And I thought they were doing it like once a new movie is on Netflix, they take off the one that was on previously. But I guess not, because
Thor Ragnarok's still on there.
Yeah, Thor Ragnarok's still on there. I think Guardians Volume 2 is still on there as well.
Yeah. They also have Black Panther on here too.
Yeah.
I recently saw Room on Netflix as well, which is really good. But
Netflix is one of those services where like it's a good platform. The problem is that Netflix is also the start of a growing problem with streaming. When it comes to films, physical media, as we know for a long time, was and I'll go on this in a later episode. Basically, with streaming, all I wanted to say though is that if we rely only on Netflix as kind of like a default platform of, I want to see something but I don't want to go to the theater, I'll just wait for it on Netflix. Netflix can't and should not just be the default for when you want to watch something.
Which, thankfully, it isn't.
And it's not reliable as well. You don't know necessarily if it's going to be on Netflix.
Now, I will counter and say it isn't. That's iTunes.
Yeah.
And iTunes basically has everything. It doesn't have everything, but it when something is on iTunes, it stays on iTunes.
Yeah.
And I just want preservation, because all of these, even though they are great, all of these B movies released on VHS in the 70s and 80s, if they aren't preserved, they're going to be gone.
Nobody's going to even hear about them.
Yeah, so
in 20 years.
I think that's what worries me about Netflix, is something can just get pulled off and it's just erased from history.
Yeah.
So I want some sort of preservation. So their originals are preserved, and especially content that they do not own that gets pulled off is somehow preserved on some other platform. That's what worries me, is people are like, oh, well, it's off Netflix, and it's just never seen again. Yeah. That's what worries me. But I'm sure as streaming becomes more and more prevalent with each year, that is going to be more of a case as more studios get on board.
It'll work out. It'll either work out or everything will be trash, so it doesn't matter.
They have Children of Men on?
Yeah.
What?
That.
Oh man, we're watching that together.
I wish
that was so good.
That's the movie I was. Speaking of like waiting for movies, I was actually waiting for Children of Men to like drop on some sort of streaming, or I was just gonna buy it off of Amazon.
You've seen it, right?
No, I haven't.
You haven't seen it?
Yeah.
Oh, we're watching it together.
Okay, yeah.
Prepare yourself, because it is depressing, but it's great.
Yeah.
It is one of the most stressful movies I've ever watched, but it's fantastic.
Dude, I wish I didn't have this essay. We're going off.
One
My
shot
friends.
sequence that is brilliant.
I know, I've seen it.
Oh,
it's like one of the shots that's the
car.
There are.
That's basically like the whole movie.
Is it like a one-shot sequence?
Yeah. My friends have a story of like the first time we watched it in our intro to film class together, and my friends have a story of just looking over at me and seeing me just like stressed out, just freaking out, because that movie, it's really good, but it's one of the most stressful experiences I've ever had in my entire life.
With all these long takes, that's part of what adds to the stress. Because you're like, can they just cut, please?
Are they gonna cut?
Yeah.
Please just
reverse shot.
But they
Do it.
But they do have countless of hours of entertainment on Netflix. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's,
How could you possibly get through this library?
I mean, I'm looking at this. I'm like, I wish I had time to watch a lot of these
Oh,
things.
and one last one, because I think I saw it on. I guess it's not on there, but I remember it.
Hip hop.
No, not that one. Arrested Development.
Oh yeah.
That show
okay.
is hilarious. It was some of the newer seasons are Netflix originals, but I think the first 3 were on Fox. I believe.
Yeah.
It is one of the funniest shows I've ever watched. It's definitely awkward comedy, but it's funny, and it's got a great cast. It's got Jason Bateman, Michael Cera. Who else is on there?
The older man.
I like Jason Bateman.
Jeffrey Tim.
Yep,
I
Jeffrey
think
Prince and
I'm gonna say this. I think the only thing I've seen Jason Bateman in is that Will Smith movie, the one
Hancock?
where Hancock.
Yeah.
That movie is fun.
It's not that bad.
It's a really
Jason
good.
Bateman. You've only
Yeah,
Jason Bateman.
that's the only movie I've seen
Dude, you
Jason
haven't seen
Bateman.
Okay, Horrible Bosses.
Okay,
is
Horrible
funny, I'm not
Bosses,
gonna lie.
the Gift. Okay, you have so many other hits. It's just why Hancock?
You haven't
Because
watched those?
because my dad loves that movie, and yeah,
Really?
yeah, it's a really good movie.
It's pretty good.
I
haven't
really
seen
like it.
I haven't seen
It's
it.
not
It's
bad.
a really it's like a good
We're getting
take.
way off topic.
It's a
Yeah.
really good take on the superhero
Okay,
genre.
because
Yeah.
I've seen the spoofs on the film.
Yeah.
I just haven't.
You
seen
just can't watch it. You can't watch it expecting a standard superhero
The
movie.
thing I hate about Netflix is they have Friends, but they don't have Seinfeld.
Yeah, that's true. But Hulu has
Ouch.
Seinfeld, I believe.
Yeah.
So
Also-
buy Hulu.
Hancock beat Black Panther to the punch for first black superhero movie by 10 years. So people, Hancock was first. Not
Yeah,
Black Panther.
but the rest of the cast is white.
But it's still a black superhero.
I mean, yeah, but okay. Anyways,
That is
we're not gonna get into that.
They also-
That's a whole other thing.
I just started watching Parks and Rec, so I don't know.
All
how
right,
to
yeah.
start that out
Let's.
there.
All right, we're going like we're just like blurting out
It's
names
like,
at this
this
point.
show's on. Let's start about that.
Go watch this show right now.
Dude, no. Netflix is an interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not going to be alive for long though. That's for
Netflix?
especially.
You think Netflix is gonna die?
I think so personally,
Well-
especially if you have a lot of streaming services that are going to pull their content out.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I do think as it all depends on the Disney service.
Yeah.
If Disney service does really well, then other studios are going to follow suit, take their content off, and make their own studio exclusive platform.
Yeah.
And that's what you're eventually going to have. You're going to have the Disney one, the Warner Brothers one,
Which
the
I'm
Universal
gonna
one.
say this: I need I need DC to lower their price by like $50.
Mhm.
Like it needs to be $5 a month.
Yeah.
And then
most of these services should be $5.
yeah, and then Disney. I think Disney can say $8 a month. I think that's fine.
Disney
but-
has the privilege to do
Yeah.
that.
I'm okay with Disney doing well as long as it's at the $8 a month.
Disney
price
owns
point.
so much. They would pull a Star Wars, everything StarArs out of Netflix. Just
Oh, it pretty much already is, except for the new stuff and Clone Wars.
Oh.
Yeah.
'Cause Rebels is not there, and I don't believe episodes 1 through 6 are either.
Oh wow.
Which
Yeah.
that's kind of the sad thing is I wish Rebels was on Netflix because I could watch it then, but I can't. In any case, yeah. So let's end the show.
Yeah. We're gonna keep going if we don't stop it.
Yeah. So that has been the 8th episode of the Cate-Cast. We've
Wow.
officially been doing this for 2 months.
Wow.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Sawyer, where can you find us?
So you can find us on Twitter. It's the opposite of our title, so it's at CastCata, at CASTCATE, capital C for both parts.
I'll say this: I get so confused whenever when I'm on stream and I'm trying to plug us. I'm like, wait, which one is which?
It's weird. It wouldn't let me change it, so I just left it. And we are also now, wherever you're watching this, all the other platforms we're on Spotify. Even though for some reason on Spotify, if you're not noticing an artist page, there has been some issues with the Spotify thing based on the way we link it there. So the episode should still be able to be listened to, but if you're on Spotify and if you're using a Google device and you want to listen to the podcast but Spotify isn't working, we are also on Google Play.
Yeah.
And if you're listening on Spotify but it doesn't work and you're on an iPhone, we're also on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, which I would say probably Apple Podcasts is
better for podcasting.
Yeah.
Because Spotify is much more of a music service. So
We are also on YouTube.
yeah,
And I thought there was one other service. Nope, that's it.
we're on Twitch.
We are on Twitch, and all the Twitch.
Oh, we're also
archive-
on Podbean.
We're on Podbean, but everything from Podbean is how
Yeah.
we upload it, and all of the Twitch content is automatically uploaded to YouTube.
It's
afterwards.
not auto-uploaded.
Not auto upload, but it will be.
It will.
Uploaded
It will
to-
be at some point when I get around to it uploaded on
Yes.
YouTube.
Oh, I thought it was auto. Okay, that's a
No,
lie.
yeah. I want to figure out an auto-uploading system for that because I don't want to have to go.
I
go
think you
ahead
might
and
have a
do
way to do that. We'll talk about it
that.
after.
Okay.
And there's one last bit is when it comes to our, I believe it's the YouTube, but some other services do it differently. When it goes up, it might appear on other services quicker than others.
Yeah.
So it usually appears, as I've noticed, on YouTube and Google Play first.
Yeah.
It usually appears on Apple last. And
I always get it like the morning after we record because that's usually when you upload it, or like when you upload it that night, right?
so it depends on the
So like I get it on my Apple Podcasts like the morning after. So
So most of the time, with YouTube, obviously, if you subscribe on YouTube, you'll get a notification. But sometimes, if you have other people who listen to the show, some people might get it earlier depending on the platform they're listening to. It
Okay.
just depends on the platform, not us. We can't really do anything about it.
you can catch me. I'm doing a Kingdom Hearts 2 playthrough right now. We're about halfway through right now, so it's going pretty good. I just got one of the finishing attacks, so game's gonna get a lot easier from here on in. And you can find that on Cate-Cast Twitch, all lowercase, all one word, no hyphen. And then I record those generally on Mondays and Thursdays. Sometimes I do Friday. Sometimes I might even go home and do a stream just because I feel like playing Kingdom Hearts 2. So, you can find that. Ahmad, you got anything to plug?
Nope, I don't have anything to plug. No.
Over the Thanksgiving week, I may stream Spider-Man PS4. No promises, though, because it's a very busy time.
Yeah.
But I may stream some gameplay.
I want to thank our listeners for getting.
Wait. Sorry. Can you give us a like goal?
A light goal?
Yeah, on like the video or like the
So
on the podcast feed. Like so if they reach X amount of likes or stars or something.
So then I play Spider-Man?
Will you stream
Okay.
Spider-Man? Give me like a goal.
If you get us to the same view count on this episode as the view count on the first episode, I'll play Spider-Man.
All right.
Yep.
You'll stream Spider-Man.
I'll stream Spider-Man.
Yep.
I'm still going to play it regardless.
Yeah.
I'll stream Spider-Man.
But I was gonna thank our listeners for.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Thanks for sticking around this long.
Listening. And also, thanks if you've been around since the very beginning. Thank you for being adamant.
Yeah.
And
Obligatory like and subscribe. I will say we would like to have more people listening, so if you can, please do share.
give us feedback. Please.
Yeah, please. Yeah, absolutely. Give us feedback. I want to improve the show structure as much as possible.
And as much as we'd like to have you guys listen to the entirety of the podcast, I know not all of you who listen to this show are necessarily well versed in everything we talk about. I think I can speak for Ezra and Ahmad here that we would still rather you listen to at least part of the podcast.
Yeah.
Rather than if you don't want to watch the whole 2 hours because you don't know everything we talk about.
Yeah.
That's why we put the time codes in the description so you can listen to the parts that you want to hear about or you know about.
Yeah.
So I know the fact that it's 2 hours might turn some of you away or some people away, but I think I speak for everyone here when I say just listen to the sections you want to hear about if you don't want to hear about everything.
Yep.
Yeah, and honestly, if you don't like the show, that's okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
we try to pick our topics based off of what people or what we think people would like. I mean, personally,
Yeah, what
pop
we think
culture.
people will like, what we like.
What we like,
We're just three guys passionate about pop culture
Yeah.
and entertainment. So
And stay tuned for the remainder schedule of 2018. There might be some changes.
The schedule's going to change. The upload schedule's going to change pretty soon, and we're also going to have to figure out some way to keep the content rolling over winter break because we go on break and we're not going to be together to record.
Well, we could do some
so.
Spider-Man and Kingdom Hearts
Yeah.
game walkthroughs.
There will most likely be
Figure out a way to
gameplay
do
that
it.
still goes up
Yeah.
from Twitch onto YouTube, but in terms of the regular show, don't count on that.
Yeah,
being-
don't count on the regular.
We're spending
Cate-Cast.
time with family.
Yeah. So yeah, that has been
But there should still be episodes at least until like mid-December.
mid-December.
With the exception of maybe not Thanksgiving.
and maybe not Thanksgiving.
That's still
We
up in
might
the air.
skip
I'm gonna be
Thanksgiving.
too full to talk. I'm just gonna be hibernating.
Yeah, so that has been the 8th episode of the Cate-Cast. I'm Ezra.
I'm Ahmad.
And I'm Sawyer.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
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 We have to do like a 3, 2, 1 thing.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
We have to keep the 3, 2, 1 thing. Yep.